What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday. We're getting tactical today, as always. How's it going, everybody? Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I hope you all caught the all the freaking coverage we did of Captain Con. We did streaming all weekend at Captain Con, and it was rad. We had some super sweet games, and yeah, pretty excited about how things broke down over there. Ended up with a finals game that looked like it was a blowout, and then for sure was not, which was super cool. Very exciting end to the event. So yeah, it was super sweet. If you haven't watched the VODs, they are available over on the live section on the channel, so you can go check those out. Yeah, so what we're going to be doing today is, I talked in my video on Monday about the top 3 lists from all of the big GTs this weekend that use the new data slate. So we're going to be diving into tournament lists that use the data slate, but not necessarily at the GT level. So I've gone through and I've recorded a bunch of smaller events, RTT level events that used the data slate. I don't know exactly how many, it's like 30 probably. That were usually like 20 plus players or so, and broken them down in my notes over here by their undefeated lists, so we can take a look at a couple examples for each faction that won or at least went undefeated at an event this weekend, and we can take a look at how things are adapting with the new data slate. We can take a look at how things are working out with all the new changes, and some interesting results coming down. We have some, I think, probably what is, in my opinion, like a surprising amount of Chaos Space Marines. And honestly, like, several Chaos Space Marine sub-factions actually sort of coming out of the woodwork. A lot of Death Guard, which catches me off guard a little bit. Yeah, just sort of like sticking around. Thousand Suns also see some play. And we also have, it's sort of a smattering of representation from a ton of other factions as well. I think a lot of it is going to be players who are already playing these factions and sort of jumped back into them or continued to play with them over the weekend. So they might be a little overrepresented for the next week or so. We'll see how they end up in GT play. But the big one, I think, the big two like sort of newcomers are Drukhari and Custodes, which I think everybody could see coming a mile away. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And we'll probably start with some of the more popular factions that saw a lot of play. But yeah, hope everyone's ready to have a good time. Where Necrons and Elder win rate? We don't really look at win rate, to be fair. I don't think I would look at win rate this weekend, because it's sort of a super worthless stat right now. Once we're 3 or 4 weeks in and we have like a lot of data, especially at the larger event level for those factions, I think things are going to look a little bit more reasonable. But right now, I mean, you have 2 GTs and then however many like small events to look at in terms of win rate. It's the sample size is fucking minuscule. So yeah, we're not really looking at win rate. And I will also probably not be looking at Necrons today, unless we really want to and we have extra time. But there are a lot of Necrons. And I think we're going to be talking about a lot of Necrons, at least in the next like 2 weeks or so, as people kind of just continue to play Hypercrypt Legion. I don't know if it's going to get answered within the meta, and we see their representation drop, but there's so many Necrons. There's a lot. I mean, it's a surprise. They were the very good faction, and they didn't get any changes, and so wow, crazy. Anybody been ready for a show to roll Agents of the Imperium? Ooh. Got some funky Agents of the Imperium, funky wording for that detachment ability over there. If we go look at my other channel, my TacticalTortoise TV. I made a whole video about the Agents of the Imperium rule and how it's borked. Hope they fix it. All right. Also another thing, I changed the name of my channel. It's called TacticalTortoise 40k now. I don't know. I'd make videos about 40k, so I figured that would help my SEO a little bit. Always got to think about the SEO. But anyway, let's dive in. Let's talk about some Adeptus Custodes first, because there's a bunch of them, and people freaking love those Adeptus Custodes, man. So here we go. Oops, I forgot my fade. Oh God, what has happened? All right, well, OBS just freaked out. That's okay. We're back. We did it. So this is in no particular order, and we're kind of just picking lists at random right now, but we are at the 1UP Video Games RTT. Kevin Morrow, 3-0 with Adeptus Custodes. This is a weird win breakdown. A 37-point win to begin. That's insane. How do you do that? It was 37-32. I think that means that we went to time in that game, and the game didn't actually complete. But 200-point wins after that is pretty good. What is this doing? Okay. BCP has been signing me out all day, by the way. Hopefully that works. Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah. I don't know what's wrong with BCP today. I think they're doing a bunch of updates. I saw some new features get implemented on Best Coast pairings. Which I think maybe they reset. They bounce everyone out or something. I don't know. It's bizarre. Custodes do look very strong. Yeah, I think Custodes are going to be sweet for sure. Yes, it's TacticalTortoise Space Marine 40k, Adeptus Astartes, hashtag Astartes, hashtag Space Marines, hashtag Emperor's Finest. Get that SEO going. Fucking goddamn it! I posted it on Twitter. Somebody was like replying to one of my posts about the meme list videos and was like, now that I know all you do is put Space Marines in the title to get clicks, I'm gonna dislike every video you talk about Space Marines in. I was like, all right, man. So that's a weird hill to die on, but sure, dude. Whatever floats your boat, my guy. Oh my god. I wish Space Marines weren't as popular as they are, chat, but that's the world we live in. All right, what are we playing today? So over the weekend, we streamed a list from Tony Phillips that was running just infinite custodian guards. It was like 5 infantry bricks. This list is a little bit less all in on that. We have a shield captain with Ceaseless Hunter, a Veiled Blade Champion, and Trajan Valoris. 2 custodian guard squads with 1 shield in each, and then a 6-man with a Vexilla to get the extra OC. A prosecutor squad. Oh, Virtus Praetors coming out of the woodwork, dude. Holy crap. Okay. They did get a big points cut. I don't know if people were that excited about them, but here they are. Big brick of 5 Alaris custodians. We don't have an Alaris captain, right? So those guys are just chilling. Yeah, we just have shield captains. But that's okay. Big brick of custodian wardens, 1 witch seeker squad, and Kyria Draxus. So we have a custodian guard squad for Kyria Draxus. We have 1 for what is probably the Blade champion, and then this is 4 custodian guards. Excuse me, I misspoke when I talked about it earlier. I thought it was 6, but you can't do that. You can do that, but unnecessary. And then Trajan Valoris probably goes in the Warden squad, if I had to hazard a guess. But there we go. No vehicles today. I think we're going to see a breakdown, I think, of the Virtus Praetors is cool, though. It's nice to see those guys included. But I think we're going to end up at a point where we basically split 50-50 between lists that are like all the infantry boys, and lists that are taking just like triple Caladius grav tanks. And it's probably a metagame like call, I think, is generally how that's going to break down. Custodes going to body non-Aeldari players in the weeks to come. Well, see. Custodes have been traditionally very good, but like kind of eminently answerable. Their game plan is like very straightforward. And they didn't... Like, the only buff they got, besides not being totally destroyed by Devastating Wounds... Don't get me wrong, Devastating Wounds are still good against them. Devastating Wounds is the equivalent of, like, AP2. And in some cases better because their damage doesn't get inflicted wholesale. So you can't... Like, if you have 1 wound left, right, and you're dealing 2 devastating damage, you would rather have them have to make 2 saves than 1 save to ignore all of the damage. You know what I mean? So in some instances, the Feel No Pain... Devastating Wounds are still good, is what I'm trying to say. Just not, like, literally just the Windmill Slam answer. But other than that, the only buff that they got were points cuts, right? which is, I mean, it's a lot, right? It's 5 points per infantry model. So in this list, it's 10, 14, so 24 times 5. So 120 points back. That's good, but I don't know if it's like game-endingly good. I think a lot of the factions that could beat Guard will still beat Custodians, I should say. Will beat Custodians with 3 more Custodians on the table, which is like what you get generally. So we'll see how it goes. All right, let's move on to another event. Wargamers Guild, won by Will Yu, running Custodes. No 37-point wins this time around, which I think we can all be happy with. This list is, the formatting is fucked. When you export your lists from Battlescribe, everybody, make sure you click raw text export, not HTML, because that's what we got over here. This is an HTML list. It's double Blade Champions with Trajan Valoris. God, this is hard to read. Holy shit. 2 5-man Custodian Guard squads, 1 Prosecutor squad, 6 Solaris Custodians this time, plus a 2 5-mans of Wardens. So I guess we're putting Blade Champions in both the Warden teams, and then it is, yeah, Kyria Draxus in one of them maybe, and then Trajan in the other Custodian Guard squad. Because we do have Kyria Draxus at the bottom with a Calidus Assassin for secondaries, and that's the whole list. We don't have a single Sister of Silence. Oh, no, we have a Prosecutor unit. Just kidding. So this one's, it's dumping the Virtus Praetors for more Custodian Wardens and more Alarius Custodians, basically out of the list that we just looked at. Does everybody think about Greyfax with Wardens? Does Greyfax really do that much for Custodians? I don't believe she can jump into Wardens, though, right? Because Wardens aren't battle line. I think that she's restricted to battle line. Somebody can in the chat can correct me with that. So I don't think that that's a combo, to be fair. So that's kind of the same deal. It looks like, for the most part, we're kind of angling towards people sticking on this this style of like infantry focus list, which I think is fair, right? Because those are the models that got the points cut. So if you want to optimize the most points per, like the most value for points, the infantry squads like big bricks of Custodian Guard and stuff is the way to go. Mike Buzeni over here, Dogs of War RTT, 3-0 with dropping 9 points over 3 games. That's impressive. That is a solid finish. And it looks like kind of around this similar build. Well, we're sensing a theme here. I think there are a couple of Caladius lists in here, but not too many. Yeah, I guess it was the Chaos Space Marine nerf 120 points, chat. I think the Chaos Space Marine nerf was way more, right? They lost a boatload. They lost 120 on the Chosen alone, right? And then also another like 60 on the Accursed Cultists and like 40 on their Forge Fiends. They went up like 200 plus. That faction got fucking destroyed. There are some, like I said before, a lot of Chaos Space Marine lists today to talk about, though, and a lot of them are focusing on other units, and I think it's cool. I think that the Chaos Space Marines, kind of like Space Marines, have this deep enough pool, and they have Dark Pacts, which are just generically good all the time, and that it smooths over whatever you're taking, right? If you can give lethal or sustained hits and critical 5s to like basically anything that you want to at any point, turns out it's anything's good. You can just take whatever. It's fine. So this was running Blade Champion, Shield Captain plus Trajan, 2 5-man Custodian Guards, 2 Prosecutors, 3 of Alaris Custodians, and a 2 of Alaris Custodians. So that's a little bit more of a classic Alaris kind of loadout. Usually what we would see is like 2 to 3 units of 2. And then those would just act as like really super strong utility units. 130 point utility units. But that's what Inceptors are now. So you should all get used to that, I guess. 2 5-mans of Wardens to put the characters in. And then Calidus Assassin and Draxus. So those are very similar to the last one. Let's see if we can find some more unique builds. It seems like we're kind of solving the faction for now. Okay, here we go. So this is the next one. This is from Counterspell Culling. Gabrielle Rochelieu ran double blade champion, triple Alaris. So that's what I'm talking about. These guys are like, it's a weird unit because they have the uppy downy, right? So you can use them as kind of like just objective holders. They're not going to die to indirect quickly. Some indirect will kill them, but not efficiently. And they can sit around and do their thing, but if you ever need them to, they hop up and then they drop, and they're so lethal against anything that's not... basically, it's anything. Anything that's not like, I don't know, like 5 Space Marines with no characters attached, which how often do you see that? Not very often. But they get full rerolls against, or full wound rerolls, I should say, against monsters and vehicles, and characters, which includes units with characters attached. So most heavy bricks in the game, they get rerolls against. Most like lone operative support characters, they get rerolls against. Most of the big heavy hitters, monsters and vehicles, they get rerolls against. It's just the little like chaff units, and if you're a 5-man infantry squad, they're probably going to kill you anyway, because they have a bunch of strength 4 shooting from their Guardian Spear and their grenade launcher together with Blast. So there's just like such a useful unit to just be doing secondaries and threatening your opponent's backline. But this time, we're running triple Warden. So no Kyria Draxus today. Triple Warden for the characters to go in. We're not even running any basic Custodian Guard. All the characters are going into Warden squads. So we're just trying to tank as much as possible and open space for these Gladius Grav tanks. 2 Blaze Cannon Grav tanks following those guys up. That list is very hard to kill. That's going to be a tough nut to crack, because the Wardens get a transhuman effect, so they're -1 to wound over their over their toughness value. So if you're strength 6 or higher, or strength 7 or higher. And then they also get their once per game 4+ feel no pain against everything, not just mortal and devastating. So they are super tough to kill, unless you have like particular counterplay against them. And then any shooting that you put into that unit to try to get rid of it, you're not putting into these grav tanks. And the grav tanks are tough enough to kill that you really have to commit to kill them too. And all the while you're stuck on this brick of like destruction, you have 3 units of Alaris Custodians jumping around your backline, just being obnoxious. That is a much more interesting list. We do have, I think we had 1 undefeated Tyranid this weekend, chat. Is that right? Yeah. As far as I could see, there were 1 Tyranid. Tyranids are in a rough spot, dude. I'm worried about the buggy boys, everybody. I'm a little worried that they're gonna have a tough season this time around. I don't know if a nerf was exactly what they needed at this stage. All right, I think that's kind of the gamut of the Custodian list right now. You're basically running like the 4 or 5 infantry bricks, or you're running like 3 or 4 Enceladius Grav tanks. I think the infantry brick lists are probably more popular, but I have a sneaking suspicion that they are also more counterable, because the infantry tends to die a little bit. Like, the Grav tanks can engage at a longer distance, which can mean that if your opponent doesn't have really like super good shooting, then they can just sort of chill in the back and do whatever they want. Otherwise, the Custodians have to commit to do their thing, and if your opponent has the stat line to kill them, which to be fair is very rare, it is a little, they can fall apart. We kind of saw that happen over the weekend. We saw lots of Custodians die in one turn in the finals game at Captain Con. And I think that people are going to be trying to counter them pretty hard, which will exist. Those who needed nerfs or nerf was laughable? I don't think that's entirely the case. Speaking of nerfed factions, we can talk about Chaos Space Marines next, because we did have a lot of Chaos Space Marine lists. One of them was from this event. All right. What is happening at these RTTs? All right, we're gonna throw an asterisk here for Jeff Hellman, speaking of Chaos Space Marines. 37-point win and a 20-point win? What, my dude? What are you doing? What is happening over here? RTTs are a mad world, dude. It's a crazy time. We just go to time every game, I guess. I think that for Chaos Space Marines at least, the nerf was significant. I do think that there were nerfs to factions that didn't need them for sure. I don't know if World Eaters needed to be nerfed. I don't know if Death Guard needed it. But Death Guard are doing okay. We'll talk about Death Guard later, but Death Guard are doing all right. How are Thousand Suns now? Not great. They didn't get buffed. They didn't get nerfed. But they lost access to a lot of their demon allies. So they're I would say they are solidly mid. They're distinctly mediocre. They may be one of the factions. They've always been kind of playable into Custodes. If Custodes do really well, then Thousand Suns might be okay. We'll talk about Thousand Suns later. We're on Chaos Space Marines now. We'll jump in there. Yeah, 20-point win's funny, chat. I don't know how that happens. I don't know. That's like one of those games where you get into the fight on turn 1, and then you, like, the game lasts like 2 turns, and then you like the round gets called. That happened to me one time in early 9th edition. Made me kind of mad. I think I was playing against Black Templars, and they were just in my face on like the top of the first turn with Land Raiders and stuff, and we were just literally in melee immediately. I was like, okay, well, I guess it's gonna take a while to get myself out of. Chaos Space Marines can definitely do that. They have the speed. So this is a gamut of characters here. So we got one Chaos Lord returning with the Liber Hereticus. I'm gonna have to go and double check what all these relics are that we never look at. I definitely have had to look up the Liber Hereticus on stream before, and now I forget which one it is. Because you never saw that many. You never saw enhancements at all in Chaos Space Marines previously. Previously to the datasheet. So this one is you gain both lethal and sustain hits when you make a Dark Pact. So that's pretty cool. We're running Chaos Undivided, so we still get our rerolls, hit rolls of 1, so we have a pretty good chance of getting our criticals. Fabius Bile, who I don't think literally never seen on the table. Can look at his data sheet real quick here. Hi, Inky. What's up? You want to come visit? You want to come say hi, chat? You gonna be shy? You can be shy. I was away all weekend, and so Inky was home by herself for 2 days, and as soon as I came back, she would not stop talking to me. She was like conversation starved. So Fabulous Bill over here, once per turn, gets to 0 damage and attack, and gives you +1 strength and toughness. Okay, that's solid. 0 damage and attack onto any model in the unit. That's crazy. And it is allocation, so you don't get to test whether or not you save it though, which is the downside, I guess. And then on a 2+, you get to bring back him. He regenerates because his backpack heals him, I guess. All right, that's fair enough. I think honestly, there are probably some instances where you just take him. He's 85 points. He's kind of like functionally immortal, right? He's 5 wounds with a 5-up feel no pain. So you have to probably put like 8 damage through on him to kill him. You have to put 8 damage through a once per turn ablative armor, and then even if you do kill him on a 2+, he sets back up. I think that maybe access to Celeste was restricted, and so people were like, Fabius Bile's like the same thing, but like worse. So we'll just take him, I guess. He doesn't do that much damage. Like I guess he has a 3 damage melee attack, but it's only AP1, so it's a mixed bag. 8 attacks in total is like pretty good, but most of them are kind of worthless. But on the flip side, he's like functionally impossible to kill. There are also a bunch of legionaries in this list too, so he might be in a legionary squad. Nah, it's a 5er. Just kidding. It's probably not. Chosen, I would hazard to guess, are for the Chaos Lord. 2 units of Havocs. What can Fabulous Bill join into? Chosen or Legionary. So he might join into the Legionary squad, or he could be by himself. He's probably just fine by himself. And then we're taking a Noctilus Crown to give the give an invulnerable save. It's pretty cool. It is interestingly models, not units, wholly within 9 inches to get a 4+ invuln. So you can give it to a couple models, and it looks like we have 2 Havoc squads. So we're going to be trying to protect them with the Noctilith Crown, which is sweet. And it grants cover, but you have a 4+ invuln save, so you're probably fine. Helps you protect your like vehicles in turn 1, I guess, too. We have a Mauler Fiend as well, and a Venom Crawler, which will benefit from that, plus the Rhino and the Havocs. We can play that stuff a little bit more aggressively. Pretty interesting. And on top of that, we also have a Winged Demon Prince. These guys are kind of like insane damage. They get their once per game plus 3 attacks, if I remember correctly. Oh, excuse me. That's the Demons one. The regular Chaos Space Marine one just has a bombing effect, or a impact attack effect, excuse me. And we are taking Intoxicating Elixir on that guy. So he is going to get a 5+ Feel No Pain. So he's 9 wounds with a 2+ save, 5+ Feel No Pain. And he also deep strikes in his move 12. A lot of times you see these guys just start the game in reserve, and then they rapid ingress into like annoying places to just jump in and start like blowing out like the back line. And with a Feel No Pain, that's pretty solid. You can also can you skin shift them? You can, right? So you can regenerate them over the course of the game. Yeah, you just regain 3 wounds in your command phase for a CP. So he's actually like super tough to kill, just on his lonesome running around. Which is kind of sweet. It's the Celeste that we have at home. I don't have my second camera set up for Inky Chat. Well, first of all, she was on the floor for a second. But yeah, my cameras are still packed away from the event, so I don't have my second camera out right now. I'm sorry. I don't have an Inky cam today. Yeah, I guess that's true, chat. Right, he gets faster with Slaanesh too, so he's a fast boy. And I guess like, Dark Packs can smooth out your damage output. It's not the most exciting, in my opinion. Because it's, I mean, it's only Strength 8, right? Strength 8 AP2 is, like, kind of a whatever profile. But if you're just punching people's utility like garbage, then he will just kill everything behind your opponent's army, like, no problem. And it feels like that's going to be the use case of this dude. You don't put him into vehicles. You put him into like the little guys that he's good at beating up. Love that. And then we have a Master of Executions as well. Mark of Khorne, Master of Executions. Oh, okay. So the MOE is in the Legionary squad because they're both Mark of Khorne. I missed that earlier. Fabius Bile, I think is Slaanesh keyworded. Is that right? So he goes in with Slaanesh units. So he's probably by himself. I don't think there's anything he can join. Unless he's undivided. But he's not taking the yeah, he's definitely not taking the Chaos Lord spot in the chosen unit. So he's definitely just hanging out, being a dude. Being a dude who respawns in a 2-up, so your opponent doesn't want to kill him. He's like kind of it's like sort of crappy lone operative, right? Where you're like, your opponent's like, I'm gonna shoot that guy and kill him, and you're like, he'll probably get back up, and then your opponent's like, is it worth it? I don't know. It always feels like the actual value of the 2+ respawn isn't the fact that they could respawn, it's the fact that it might blank your opponent's attacks for one phase, basically. Oh, he is undivided? Okay, that's good to know. So he could jump into the Chosen, I guess, but then I don't think that the Lord would go anywhere, which is probably not what we're doing. Unless I'm missing a unit, but I don't think I am. The Rhino is Khorne. So the Rhino is just for Legionaries, interestingly, because you have to embark matched keywords now. Yeah, it's literally just the Chosen Squad. Fair enough. There you go. There we go. All right. Moving on. Benjamin Millark over here at Nurgle's Spread the Love, which is a disturbingly worded name for an RTT. Moving into Masters of Executions. So they are attaching into chosen units, it looks like. There is some Noise Marines, chat. I know somebody's asking about them. Masters of Executions, all Mark of Slaanesh. So we are jumping them into... It must be Noise Marine squads. Yeah, I guess it's Noise Marine squads. I don't think we have any other legal places for them to go. Yeah, there it is. All right, well, that's cool. I know there's a lot of people running Masters of Executions, like kind of as the replacement for the Chaos Lords. They're just like, well, if my Chaos Lord is like wildly overcosted, I guess I will just I'll just run the other Beatstick character in the faction. There's also there are some like possessed focus lists running Masters of Possession as well, kind of in that same spot, slot. Jesus Christ, it's a day, I guess. Let's pull up the data sheet for the Master of Executions, if I can find it. Where is this guy? Is he hiding? There he is. Oh god, I'm so bad at clicking on the data sheets that I want. There we go. So you get hit rolls targeting. You get full hit rolls in melee. Below half strength, you get wound rolls as well. And then the synergy with Noise Marines. Does he have any special consideration with those guys? I think just that they're like a really good Mark of Slaanesh unit, probably. Yeah, I guess that's what's going on. You can advance and shoot and charge, which is pretty cool. Yeah, because they're not naturally assault weapons, but you can pay the CP to let them do whatever they want because they're Slaanesh keyworded. And then the Slaanesh Mark gives them sustained 1 on a 5+. So they're getting full hit rerolls. If you're below starting strength, which you probably are because you've been shot by a Noise Marine unit. And then they get into melee, and they're rerolling everything. Probably rerolling their hit rolls. And getting 5+ sustains, which is pretty good. And for the low cost of 85 points plus an 80-point Master of Executions, right? Yeah, 165 points. They're just Legionnaires that are cheaper, but they're just not OC1 at that point. They don't reroll wound rolls, but they get hit rerolls instead, which is like, I don't know, kind of against some targets equivalent. Speaking of Legionnaires, we have 2 Legionnaire units. Oh, these are Slaanesh marked as well. Sorry, I totally missed that. So they could join into the Legionnaire unit. That's probably more likely because then they get full rerolls if they're targeting somebody on an objective. I just totally missed the mark at the very bottom there. And then we have a Chosen unit with Undivided, which it looks like if Fabius Bile is Undivided, he's going to jump into the Chosen unit there, I imagine, to give them the +1 strength and toughness. Second Chosen unit with no characters attaching, it looks like, because we don't have any. We're out of characters. One Raptor Squad, an Undivided Rhino, and then a Slaanesh Rhino. So we have 2 Slaanesh Rhinos. So we have 20 spots for Slaanesh infantry, or 24, which means that we can put all the Legionaries and the Noise Marines in there, just about. We're running 10 Legionaries and 15 Noise Marines, is that right? Yeah, so we can just about put everybody in the Rhinos, almost all the units, plus the characters. 1 unit has to stay outside, and then 1 Rhino for one of the big Chosen bricks. You could also, like, leapfrog the Chosen bricks in and out of the Rhino, so jump one in, disembark, charge, and then jump the next one in for the next round. That's pretty common, too, when you have the single transport for 2 units, and then 2 Nurgling Swarms as well. Nice to see Nurgling Swarms still there. Only a 5-point increase, but they're absolutely worth it for 40. They might be worth it at 45 still. Actually, they probably are. I don't even know if that's a might be. Nurglings could have probably received a higher, yeah, higher points value too. Pretty good. Okay. So Rubicon League with a lot of cast Space Marines at the top here. Jakub Jansa running classic CSM. 2 big wins, 2 20-point wins and a 13 on WTC scoring is impressive. And this is kind of like the old version. We're running a Warpsmith. Ooh, the old Eye of Tzeentch Warpsmith. So that gives him like a he apes Abaddon's ability to regenerate CP as long as he shoots his guns. Which is pretty cool. He's a little baby Abaddon for a lot less points. Plus 2 Chaos Lords, a regular Cultist Mob, 2 Chaos Rhinos, 1 Nurgle, 1 Undivided. 3 Destructors, Nurgle Destructors. Wow, okay. We're shooting a lot of autocannon shots today. Plus 2 5-man Undivided Chosen for the Lords to jump into. An Undivided Forge Fiend, a Slashy Warp Talon, triple Slashy Warp Talon, excuse me. I think these are units that you saw play on as one-offs or two-offs in a lot of lists previously, and with the update now to the other more common units being nerfed, I think that you're gonna see a lot more of them because they're still pretty strong. I think they went up 10 points, right? They used to be 100 points a unit, and they're still definitely worth it at 22 points a model. It's just a fast-moving, advancing, and charging unit with a billion Twin Links melee attacks. It's just pretty good. They're just good for clearing objectives, and they really they can kind of pivot the army into this MSU build that they sort of had before, but not really to the same extent. Because this list is a bunch of vehicles, 2 Fibers of Chosen, and 3 Fibers of Warp Talons. Plus, it looks like we're going to be taking some allies in this one too. So once you commit, your opponent has to split their attacks in super awkward ways. And the benefit of Space Marine profiles in this edition is that they're not good, right? A T4, 2 wound guy with a 3+ save is fine. But because everything has cover, oftentimes if your opponent doesn't wildly overcommit to them, you survive with 1 dude, especially the Warp Talons because they have an invuln save. Which is really awkward. And then that 1 dude is pass my battle shock, I'll go do an action or score points or hold the objective. And if you do that across 6 units in the army, it's super obnoxious. Looks like we're also running 2 Plague Marine squads in this list also. That's kind of interesting. Wonder, so the Plague Marines, what do the Plague Marines give up? They don't have the army ability, right? So they can't Dark Pact. And they also don't have contagions, right? So they're just T5 dudes. I guess you're just taking them because they have really good they have solid melee. Can you do they have the keywords for Dark Obscuration? They do not. That's so interesting. They get a bonus to Battle Shock, I guess. Is there a technology I'm not seeing here, chat? These don't seem as good as just taking more Chaos Space Marines, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but you can just Dark Pact for lethal hits. So, you don't even really get that. I mean, I guess it's just, heavy plague weapons are a trip. But I feel like they're really good when you get the whole Wombo combo going, where they're sustain 2 on 5s or whatever. That's when things go crazy. But you don't do that in Out of Faction. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to include. I mean, I guess, I don't know, +1 Battle Shock. Leadership 5 is, pretty good on a if they're just holding objectives down. Maybe it's fine. Oh, they get the keyword. Oh, do they? Wow, okay. Well, that makes sense then. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. All right, fair enough. So, yeah. They're just 90-point infantry that you can protect. Solid. All right. I understand. That seems pretty good. I would never have known that. They changed their faction keyword out. I mean, I guess it makes sense. But with the new ally rules, it's not necessary, which is cool. But I like that it gives you more synergy. I wonder if there is anything else you can do with them. I guess yeah, I think that's the only real exciting thing. Because you can't profane zeal them anymore. Guess you can Armor of Contempt them for 2 CP. It's not that exciting. Well, they don't get Dark Pacts, right? They just get stratagem usage. So Lost in the Damned is that you get Heretic Astartes, but Dark Pacts require you to have the Dark Pacts ability, which Plague Marines don't have, right? They have Contagions of Nurgle, but Contagions of Nurgle aren't unlocked unless your faction is Death Guard, which it's not. It's Chaos Space Marines. Yeah, unless there's something else I'm missing. It doesn't seem like they get Dark Pacts. Just the stratagems. That's cool, though. See? Innovation happening already in Chaos Space Marines. Good stuff. All right. Let's continue on. Jump into another one. So, Wira Saturday. Mod Abdul Qadir Barrail. Running Chaos Space Marines. Shoot from a Dark Pact Rhino. I guess that's good. Is that necessary? I mean, I guess they did that list have lots of guns in it on those guys? Oh, I closed the window anyway already, I think. Yeah, this is a different one. That's okay. Let's move on. So this is running just Abaddon. So we've dropped all the Master of Executions. We've dropped all the Chaos Lords. We're just running Abadabadoodan. The Chaos Undivided Legionnaire Squad. 2 biker units. So the bikers are cool because they have an uppy downy that puts them back into reserve. They're kind of like Hernkin Pioneers, but I think the Hernkin Pioneers ability is worded better because of course it is. But it gives you a little bit more of a kind of a scenario threat that you wouldn't normally have otherwise. 2 Predator Destructors and 1 Annihilator. All Mark of Nurgle. And Mark of Nurgle is 5+ sustains in the shooting phase once they do their Dark Pact. So with the autocannons, they're firing a fairly high volume of shots, which can then obviously sustain. 2 units of Chaos Spawn. They're Tzeentch keyworded, so they can skin shift themselves back, which is kind of sweet. And then I think do the Chaos Spawn get an invuln save when they're Tzeentch keyworded? No, not these ones. No, they just regenerate. So I think that the Wombo combo is that you can take up to 7 wounds on the spawn unit, and then for a CP you bring 1 back and the other one heals to full. So you have to like overkill them essentially, right, in order to actually remove them, which is pretty obnoxious. For 70 points, it's pretty good. Include. Nurgle Hellbrute, 2 Obliterators. Still taking Obliterators. plus a Nurgling unit. So this list is basically just like a gun line, right? Between double obliterators, triple predators. Plus we have bikes for like early game harassment, and then we can jump them off the sides to do secondaries. And then Abaddon the Despoiler, who might just be jumped into the Legionnaire squad, to be honest, right? Just hanging out with those boys, because he can jump into Legionnaires, right? Am I crazy? He can, yep. For some reason, not chosen, but Legionaries. He will not deign to join the power armor chosen, but he will join the ranks of the. He's a real soldier's leader, you know. He'll join the ranks of the unwashed masses at the bottom of the food chain. But I guess they assumed that like permanent advance in charge on Abaddon was a little bit too much. He probably had to pay a CP for that, which you can do because he makes the unit slash marked, or he is slash marked anyway. So he gets the targeted by the stratagem. Good stuff. I got one more to look at. So this is Tri-City Takedown. Zeke Carl, 300-point games. No big deal. NBD. Didn't drop a game over the course of the event. Whatever. Doesn't matter. So this is the one with the Master Possession. So we have Abaddon, plus a Chaos Lord, plus the MOP. The MOP is really silly, by the way. For those who haven't seen this dude, he sometimes can join into chosen units. I think he might be in a possessed unit in this list. There is a super duper big possessed unit. He grants a Feel No Pain to the unit. But the benefit that he has in chosen is that he's got a really good psychic power, and so he can advance and shoot that thing, which is super obnoxious. And then he can deal mortal wounds, potentially save them with the Feel No Pain, to give himself +1 to hit and wound. So his gun gets 2 shots, hits on 2s, wounds basically the entire game on like 4s, or maybe 3s or 2s. It's very good against heavy infantry. And then you can like pray for lethals. I guess we are on Slanesh, so it doesn't really matter. Or sustain, excuse me. So it doesn't really matter what we pray for, because they only affect melee with their expended criticals. But for AP 3 damage. So this dude will just like straight up rock two Gravis dudes every time he shoots his gun, and then Dark Packs for a couple wounds that you're probably going to save, which is pretty good. And then he can also do that in melee too. So he himself is like kind of solid. The other benefit he gets in the Chosen Squad is he gives them +1 to advance and charge. So they get +2 to their movement. Now he is in this list marked Slanesh. So he is almost assuredly inside the possessed unit. Yeah, the Chosen in this list are marked Chaos Undivided. And then we have a bunch of Warp Talons and stuff. Okay, fair enough. So we got the triple Warp Talons like we talked about before. Big Possessed Brick, big Chosen Squad for that. So that's for the Chaos Lord to join into. And then a Slanesh Rhino, which is probably grabbing Legionaries, it looks like. Yeah, a Slanesh Rhino and a Chaos Undivided Rhino. So we have a big Chosen Rhino, and then a Slanesh Rhino with 2 little bricks of Legionnaires, plus a big unit of Legionnaires with Undivided. Those may just either go into the Rhino or join with Abaddon, I guess. Because he can let them advance and charge, and then they give him baked-in rerolls. Because if they target something on an objective with melee, they'll get rerolls to wound. So he gets a super duper good chance of converting over his big devastating wounds on all his weapons. Which is a pretty sweet combo. And for only 180 points on top of Abaddon, it's a lot more reasonable than the huge like Terminator squad that you would typically see. Which seems good. The downside, I guess, is like you can't really get put in any transports. I guess you don't really want them to, but Abaddon just generating CP passively, I think, ends up being. You don't want to put him in a transport because otherwise he can't do his pact every turn to get you command points. and you're adding a lot of extra value to him to just sit in the back. You can Dark Obscurate his unit, which is good. But with the new Dark Obscuration, it means he has to play kind of cagey still. He can't be too far forward and be immune to shooting because your opponent's just going to get within 18 and like blow all of his Legionnaires away. They are not that hard to kill. But honestly, it seems like, what is that unit? 500 points? And will probably kill anything in the game. Like, the upcharge on Abaddon does not seem that much for what you get out of it, which seems pretty solid.
Mop gun randomly wounds Maleceptors and height on 2s.
Oh, yeah, because it's anti-Psyker, yeah. Psyker, I mean, it's been less of a meme since the beginning of the game, but Psyker is the worst keyword in 40k, for sure. I guess Psychic is probably, like, the Psychic weapon keyword is worse. But Psyker only makes you susceptible to things. It has, like, no benefits whatsoever. I guess, like, it's like that or like Mounted, maybe, right? Because Mounted has absolutely no positive, like, rules connotations outside of literally just Stormlance. I mean, Psyker doesn't either, I guess, unless you're playing Thousand Suns, I think. So, I don't know. It's silly. It's funny that, like, the illimitable power of the warp just makes you more susceptible to being, like, counteracted by stuff. And destroyed. All right, let's move on. I think that is all the cast basements I have to talk about today. I like this last one, though. I think it's a little bit more interesting than the ones we talked about previously. It's cool to see Possessed back on the table, because Possessed are, like, a trip, man. I guess we could talk about Possessed real quick before we jump off this list. When they Dark Pact, they gain Devastating. And they are sustaining for 1 billion million. I guess, like, there's a cool... Now that we're limiting the amount that we use Profane Zeal, I guess you could Profane Zeal those guys and they get wound rerolls, which is solid. Pull up their data sheet real quick. Yeah, so they're 4 attacks each. They're only AP 1, but that largely doesn't matter. You're kind of bringing them for the defensive profile, especially if you are joining the Master of Possession. So you get 30 wounds with a 5-up invuln and a 6-up feel no pain. And then they have 4 attacks each that 5-up sustain and devastate on 6s to wound, which is a lot. That's a lot of damage. So, like, you are probably, you're probably converting, your attacks wholesale, right? So if everybody's in, you're attacking 40 times, and you are hitting 40 times because a third of those miss, and then another third become sustains. And then a 1/6 of those, so like 7 become devastating. So you average 7 devastating damage. And that's before the Master of Possession swings. And the Master of Possession also gains devastating wounds because it's models in the unit, not just the possessed hideous mutations. So his D3 damage weapon also gets it. He doesn't have a damage bonus, I guess, which is sad. But yeah, you're attacking 44 times with devastating damage, so you're probably getting like 16 through. That's pretty good. You don't care about the -1 chat. You can't take saves against them. They're devastating. Who cares? It's and then if you're winning on anything better, they just got to take a boatload of saves on top of that too. Which is pretty sweet. Those Custodes players, they're excited to get their 4+ against that. I guess you just fight first so it doesn't matter so much, but we'll see. That's what Forge Friends are for, I guess. Got to shoot those guys. All right, let's move on, chat. I'm going down the list. We talked about Death Guard a little bit. So let's continue to talk about Death Guard. And I'm going to note down which ones we already talked about so we don't miss anybody. And then after Death Guard, we'll take a poll for whoever we want to talk about next. Can I not just like strike through the test in my notes here? Okay, I can, but it just takes a while. It's 2 clicks. It's 2 clicks. I gotta format text and strike through. Too much. I guess I could use the hotkeys, but that's too much work. All right, we're going into Death Guard. We're staying with the Chaos Space Marine theme. So the Art Store Monthly was won by Mike Norton, running the old Nurgly boys. And I think the interesting thing about Death Guard is that they have like kind of largely stayed the same. They just kind of maybe re-targeted some stuff into Death Shroud Terminators, which you're basically seeing here. So this is running 3 Biologus Putrefiers with a Shocker, 1 Lord of Virulence, Mortarion, and Typhus. Typhus I think we're going to see in like every list. 3 units of 5 Plague Marines for the Putrefiers to jump into. Or excuse me, 4 units. 6 units. So we're filling up 3 Death Guard Rhinos with 5 mans, plus putting 3 Biologus Putrefiers in them. The Lord of Virulence is the reroll guy, right? Yeah, he's the flamer dude with the rerolls. So he gives his entire unit reroll wound rolls. Looks like he's jumping into the Death Shroud Terminators. The other thing that you can do is jump them into with the Typhus, and then they get like -1, potentially -2 to be hit. Because he has a baked-in -1 to hit effect, and you can stack that with the Contagion's -1 weapon skill, and then the unit itself has the bodyguard transhuman thing, so they can also be -1 to be wounded. So Typhus in that unit is super tough to kill. I mean, it's not a downside, I guess, but the efficiency of Typhus is that he's 80 points. He's a deep striking, so like single entity unit. He's not the easiest thing in the world to kill. There's T6, 2+ save, and 6 wounds. But then he also just does a bunch of mortal wounds. On a 2+, he does D6 mortal wounds. On a 6, he does D3 plus 3. So he passively generates you damage, and that's just an ability. It's just a Vortex of Doom, but it doesn't hurt him as much as it does Grey Knights. Get wrecked, Grey Knights. So he can do that after advancing, after falling back. He can do that while performing actions. It's just a thing that happens. So he's so good at scoring you points by himself. You don't need the Death Shroud Terminators in there. But what have I done? I'm not gonna edit my data sheet here. But the benefit of the Lord of Virulence is that he gives you rerolls on your many flamers that you have in the Death Shroud Terminator unit, which is cool. And then he also gets you the Blight Bombardment, so +1 to hit and ignore cover for your artillery, which can affect. It's mostly for the Plague Burst Crawlers, I guess, is what we're taking it for. So that's cool. Nice to see him there. And still taking a bunch of Plague Marines. Dark Angels seem rough post-slate. Well, Dark Angels, it's hard to place them right now because their Codex is out, but their points have not been added to the Munitorum as far as I know. Unless there's been an update that I missed. I think we are expecting that this week, but the hope, and they have done this before with Tyranids, the hope is that the... what am I trying to say? The points in the Munitorum update are different than the points in the Codex, because the points in the Codex are bad, and the hope is that the points in the actual rules are better. We'll see. That might be copium. We'll see, but it is what it is. All right, Gamers Haven. Daniel Redahace went 3-0 with Death Guard. Running the whole gamut of different casters or different characters in the list. No Mortarion today, but we are running 1 Biologus Putrefier and 1 Foul Blight Spawn. So we have looks like a bunch of little Plague Marine units, so 2 5s and a big 10-man. The 10-man will probably get both the characters. So we get the 5-up lethal combo from the Biologus Putrefier, and then we get Fight First from the Blight Spawn. Plus he's got a sweet gun, so he's super good. We have a Lord of Contagion, who's probably going to join into Death Shroud Terminators. Ooh, we got a big 6-man of Death Shroud Terminators. Hot diggity damn. To join that dude into. And he is super good at fighting. So he expands his own contagion range. And then he himself also... Oh, God. What is happening right here? Rerolls hit rolls in melee. And he reflects damage back as mortal wounds to enemies that are fighting him. But he himself, he's got a lethal hit, 3 damage weapon, AP2, 3 damage. So he's just like an absolute powerhouse when it comes to melee. Because you have to remember, you can buff the lethal hits potentially if you want to. He's getting hit rerolls, so he's more likely to trigger those lethal hits. And then once he doesn't lethal hit you with, you are -1 toughness. So unless you're a T10 plus vehicle, he's wounding you on 4s. And he can also, if he wants to, reduce your armor save as well, so he can be AP3 effectively. So this dude will just like blow up a tank by himself, but then there's also a bunch of idiot Death Shroud Terminators to help him too. So that's sweet. And then we got a Lonesome Typhus all by himself, 2 Malignant Plague Casters, which we have seen in the past as singletons. They have a targetable 18-inch -1 to wound psychic power and melee, so you can kind of like super buff the melee units. You can make them -2 to wound, I guess, on the Death Shroud Terminators. Not that useful, but they also slow you down, and then they themselves just also have a sweet gun. A 12-inch range Torrent for AP2 D3 damage, D6 plus 3 shots. So you're kind of just taking them as like independent little nukes. They also this list is running. We're kind of back to the what's the word? The ally focus. So we're taking 3 War Dog Brigands, 3 units of Nurglings, and Rotigus, which is pretty interesting. So like Rotigus just got a big points cut. So the big greater demons are much more reasonable to take into lists. You do have to take Nurglings to unlock him, but you're going to be doing that anyway, probably, if you're playing any faction that can take Nurgling units, because they're so efficient, so you're going to do that regardless. So he can give his demons +1 damage. He has move and objective control. And then I guess you can stack that with the Plague Casters Fallout. So you can be half movement -2. If you begin that move within 6 inches of Rotigus. That is a little tougher to do, but it's definitely still possible, because this dude's going to be like up in the crap of it. I guess interestingly, if there's no other Chaos Demons around him, Rotigus kind of wants to have Greater Demon or Great and Clean Ones with him, because he can stack toughness reductions alongside his like kind of not very exciting melee weapons. But then he also gets a Feel No Pain from them, because he doesn't have a Feel No Pain baked in, it looks like. But he has +1 damage, so he himself like beats people to death pretty good. And if you are Death Guard, you can all your persistent auras also affect enemies. So you can be swinging like 14, kind of effectively like strength 8-ish, AP2 2 damage swings if you do the sweep attack with his big stick. If your opponent is -1 to save and -1 toughness. And I guess -1 toughness is like, I guess it's like kind of +1 strength. It's not quite the same, but it's in there. Yeah, Nurgle Matt, this is a list after your own heart, dude. It's all up in there. That's pretty sweet. I do think that there is probably play now that they're cheaper with the regular Great Unclean One, because the regular Great Unclean One I think is the same cost now as Rotigus, right? And he has a targeted -1 toughness end of your movement phase. So he can just like deep strike into a place and then drop an additional -1 toughness debuff on somebody, which can then also benefit the other shooting that you have. So if you're running like War Dogs and stuff, and you have that Lord of Contagion up in range, then they just get super duper like dumpstered. But Rodriguez, I think, is probably a little bit more of a super solo. In that he's a little bit tougher. I guess it's the same. The Guo has a 6+ feel no pain, but Rodriguez has 2 more wounds. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like 6 of one, half of the other. A 6 up feel no pain is like 3.5 wounds back, so the Guo is a little bit tougher. Still cool though. I like the combo. The combo of the Plague Casters plus Rodriguez is like pretty sweet because you can make him -1 to wound, potentially -2 to be hit, right? Because you can reduce their weapon skill if they're in Contagion Aura, and you can give them -1 from Nurglings if they're nearby, and then you can also make them -1 to wound with the Plague Caster. So you can, if the stars align, you can actually kind of supercharge this dude into being super duper tanky. All right. We'll move on. I think we'll do one more Death Guard list. We're in Romaric Industries. Jacob Cluey. Cluey? Go with Cluey. One sounds a little bit good. A little bit better. Is running, I guess, a very similar list to the one we just talked about. This one's taking bloat drones, though, which is exciting. And Plague Bridge Crawlers. This just looks like a list from previously, but it doesn't have any brigands. Like a pre-nerf list. 2 Biologus Putrefires, 1 Foul Blight Spawn, a Lord of Virulence with Deadly Pathogen and Typhus. So the Lord of Virulence is a Flamer one, remember. The Lord of Contagion is the Axe guy. A big 10 mana Plague Marines, so it probably gets all of the buffs, and then the second Putrefier jumps into one of the 5-mans. Most likely. 1, 2, 3 units of 5 Plague Marines, 3 Rhinos to hold them in, 1 big 6-man of Destron Turbinator. So it's we're sensing a theme a little bit here. But then we also have 3 Plague Bridge Crawlers. So we're really focused on the Plague Bridge Crawler indirect fire, like blast synergy with the Lord of Virulence, plus a Fetid Bloat Drone to just be a little annoying guy. 90 points for the Bloat Drone feels pretty good right now, because I think those guys are just tough enough to kill that they're super obnoxious. You don't really want to have to attack them. But being basically what is like a kind of expensive utility unit, but that's also like impossible to kill for its points value, is really good. And then we are still running the Plague Bridge Crawlers with 2 Entropies and 1 Spitter. I like the Spitter as like the backline guy. The interesting thing about the Entropy cannons is that while they feel like they are las cannons, they're only range 24, which is like pretty short. They went from being 36, I think, in previous editions to going down to 24, which feels like a pretty solid nerf. And it definitely makes him not particularly reliable until the game's kind of joined. And if you have a PBC that's hiding in the back and not really shooting too much, it's never going to be able to fire those weapons. But the cool thing the Spitters do is it lets you clear out enemy like random chaff. Like they throw like 5 Seraphim or whatever in your back line, and you just get to kill them for free with the Plague Spitters. And the more I play against Plague Spitter armed Plague Bridge Crawlers, they're so much less dangerous to tanks to armor, but the infantry sweeping is super good. Especially because you don't typically need a lot of armor cracking in many Death Guard lists. I'm not going to say all Death Guard lists, because your Plague Marines are so just generically good at it anyway. These guys don't really care what your toughness value is, so even big Knights and stuff, they'll beat them down with if they get the full 5+ lethal and sustain plague weapon combo off on you. You get kind of murdered. You know, one shot's a drone, a carnivore. I feel like that's okay. A carnivore is 50 points more expensive than a drone. And then you just get to kill it with your other guys. Just don't roll ones, Nurgle That's a you problem, my dude. That ends up being a skill issue, I think. All right, chat. What faction we want to talk about next? We talked about Drukhari, or we didn't talk about Drukhari. We talked about Death Guard. We talked about Chaos Space Marines. We talked about Custodes. Tempted to go to Cascade Clash, and it's a 20-minute drive. Panda Man Pete, 20-minute drive. You just do that. It's not very often you have a major level event within 20 minutes of you. You are a lucky duck, my dude. I would absolutely sign up for that. Big events too. They seem like kind of stressful, I guess. But the interesting thing about big events that happens is that you go for the first game and you probably hit someone, like, realistically. If you're not in the tournament scene very often, you probably hit someone who's better than you. Or is, has whatever, a better list or is more prepared, whatever, and they beat you. And then after that round, and maybe round 2, you're against people who are of your same skill level. So the rest of your games are super chill. Which is really cool. It's one of the cool things about the Swiss pairings in competitive play is that you very, very quickly, especially over the course of a long event, and Cascade Clash is 8 rounds if I remember correctly, over the course of a long event, you end up just playing with people who are exactly the same level as you are, and all of your games get super duper tight and super good. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. Drukhari, Tau, Drukhari. It feels like it's a coin flip between Drukhari and Tau is what people are doing. All right, we will do Tau first. Let's jump into Tau because there are less of them, and then we'll hop on Drukhari after that. Yeah, I have spoken, and then it sounds like I think World Eaters were the follow-up. There is only one undefeated World Eaters this weekend, if I remember correctly. Unfortunately, they fell off pretty hard, so we'll do them afterwards. All right, so we're over to Tau. So we're on the Las Vegas monthly. Oh, that's not the right thing. Oh no, I closed my tab. What have I done? All right, Las Vegas monthly. Here it is. BCP would load. This is fun. Okay, here it goes. Jason McKenzie, 3-0 with Tau. Let's go. This is Astra Militarum. That one's not even excusable, chat. Oh, it says Astra Militarum here. BCP is just glitching out. God damn it. Now I have to put it in the Militarum category. Ugh. I've been so inconvenienced. Terrible. Somebody had the classic problem in one of these events where they put Adepta Sororitas in. Because it's the first one on the list, I think, and they misclick or it defaults or whatever. And then they're actually playing Necrons. And I was like, ooh, new sisters list. No, it's Necrons. Get wrecked. I was like, okay. Guess I'll just go diddle myself. All right, well, let's look at a different Tau list. There's even less Tau than I thought, I guess, chat. Astra Militarum kind of killing it, though. Well, they did okay. I won't say killing it, but they did all right. Less Manticores than before, but... All right, we're over at Odin Games. This guy's name is No Leaf Clover, which I'm sure is his real name. I think it just means he's very unlucky. Running Commander Farsight, Dark Strider, and Longstrike, all the characters. 5 Breacher teams with 3 Devilfish. So we don't even have enough Devilfish for all the Breacher teams. 2 Hammerhead Gunships. 1 Krutok, because he's a cool little utility guy. A Pathfinder team for Dark Strider to join into. And then another one. And then a third one. Okay. So what I think we're probably doing here is using the Devilfish to... or using the Pathfinders to give the Devilfish Scout. So you can essentially forward deploy your dedicated transports and then use them to jump the breacher teams into for the future turn. So you end up staging your your devilfish like that much farther forward with all the pathfinders in them. And the pathfinders just act as like just a solid infiltrate or a solid scout unit that also then can spot twice, which is nice. 2 Skyray gunships, 2 Vespid Stingwings. Those guys are cheaper now, so that's good. And a Tetra unit. So literally no battlesuits besides Farsight. Right? Just literally no battlesuits besides Farsight. And Farsight's not even joining a unit. So he's just a melee guy today. His +1 to wound is his leadership ability, right? He doesn't get +1 to wound normally. So I guess we're just taking him because he's cool. He's just a big guy. Yeah, while he's leading a unit, he gets +1 to wound within 9 inches. But he's not leading a unit, unless I'm mistaken here. Because there are literally no battlesuits. Who needs him? Am I right? Like, battlesuits are overrated, dude. Don't even need them. But he gets his once per game full hit rolls, so he's just like a counterpunching melee threat. His melee's okay. I don't know if it's worth it by himself though, but I guess you're not really running any other melee anywhere in Tau anyway, so you might as well. 8 battlesuits. Yeah, I guess that's fair. We're doing our best Astra Militarum impression, right? We've got 80 infantry, 5 gunships, and 3 devilfish. So like we're right on the money with the with like the volume of infantry and damage that we can do. And the Pathfinders are like a pretty good approximation of Kroot without actually having to play Kroot, right? You can just play actual Fire Warrior dudes with cool special weapons instead of taking a bunch of like weird melee guys. Needs more hammerheads. Needs we can only take 1 more. I guess you could like cut some of the support for a hammerhead if and a gunship. Maybe cut a Pathfinder team, I don't know. This month's gonna be the last of the big standard Tau lists. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna see like in a couple weeks Tau just get totally redesigned, right? So like, who knows what they're gonna look like. I don't know if like delving too deep into Tau is like, you know, worth it right now. I do think also with the nerf to Crisis Battlesuits, they are looking kind of sad right now, right? Because they outside of Breacher teams, which are a solid like frontline fighter, and maybe Ghost Kill Battlesuits, they are not very good at holding the midboard, and their only unit that could really like counterpunch stuff that comes at you got like a massive increase, which is a little sad. So this time we're over here. This is Preston Southon at Warp Charge Gaming. Went 3-0 with Tau. Running Aunva, because he's sweet. 1 Crisis Battlesuit and 1 Cold Star Commander Battlesuit. So the Crisis Battlesuit, we're seeing a lot more like Crisis and Enforcer Battlesuits with Precision of the Hunter. Because you take them, sometimes you take them just as a singleton, and they just run off and do their own thing. And they're so cheap now for the amount of damage they do. The points value is insane. And you're kind of getting a discount because they're probably going to die. And they're probably going to give your opponent assassination. But just that value alone is super solid, especially if you can get them a good spotter. And then we have an exemplar of the Kauyon Cold Star Battlesuits. 1, 2, 3 Breacher teams, and Long Strike, I should say also. It's important. 3 Breacher teams, 1, 2 Devilfish to put the Breacher teams in, 1 Broadside Battlesuit team with Railguns, a big brick of Crisis Battlesuits, the big 6-man. That's for the exemplar of the Kauyon to go into, yeah, and then the other guy's going to be all by himself, just doing his thing. Plus 2 Pathfinder teams, and there you go, the Riptide Battlesuit. Plus 2 Tetras. So we did see a big points cut on the Riptide Battlesuit, so we might see them a little bit more often. Take a quick look at the Riptide Battlesuit. They're always... Riptides have like the weirdest... because if they're Nova Generator, they have the weirdest mechanics every edition. Oh, you gonna let me look at your data sheet there, buddy? So once per game, they can overload the Nova charge and get devastating wounds. On one weapon, which is a little bit funny. I guess you could put it on like the twin linked weapons, right? And that's pretty good, but you don't get that many shots with it, unfortunately. So you probably take it on the big gun. Which is a scary threat when you're getting rerolls from marker lights. It's low base strength, but I think the hope is that you just like convert 1 or 2 sets of devastating. Because if you're full rerolling everything with sustain 2, like you probably end up with under Kauyon, like 5 hits and then reroll, or 3 hits on the first go around and then you reroll it. You probably get another 4 or 5. So you're probably at like 7 or 8 hits. And the odds of you getting 2 converted devastating shots is okay. It's just that strength 8. I don't know where that's coming from. It's like so low. Or maybe you just like rock the burst cannon. I don't know. Which meme list am I thinking about playing next? I don't know, chat. It's we can talk about it later, but I have some ideas of where I want to go with the meme list, the like format. I have some in the chamber. Some of the stuff I'm like planning right now is just kind of normal lists to like suss out the post data slate stuff. But the fact that the last video like bombed super hard kind of like put me off the meme list for a while. I actually haven't really streamed that much over on the Purple channel because I've been like, I don't know, not super feeling it as much. If people don't want to watch the funny, interesting lists, I'm like, I don't know. What's even the point? But that's okay. I do have some tournament games coming up tomorrow and through the rest of the week, so I will be streaming the rest of the week, but I haven't been that into it recently. All right. Those are the Tau lists. Unfortunately, not too much. Like I said, with the nerf to Crisis battlesuits, I think people are kind of like off them for a bit, which is a little bit sad for them. But again, they are going to be getting a new codex in like a couple days, so we will probably just see them get totally reworked. And then I said I would talk about World Eaters, which I believe that we had an instance of. We did. Over at Gigabytes Cafe, down in Georgia, down in Marietta. So this is Drew Townsend running the World Eaters. Can't get one away from 1975. Dude, I feel that so hard. Playing Thousand Suns, it's the same way. Any of these factions that like don't get good, like a lot of options, and they just can't massage their points very well, just get cucked really hard by the restricted unit size, which is unfortunate. 3 Lords of Skulls and Angron? Hell yeah, man. I think that might... I have like a tier list coming out tomorrow, and I do talk about it a little bit. I think that's probably terrain dependent, but that might be like literally the direction that World Eaters go in. Because that's the one way that they didn't get nerfed, is playing the super heavies. But if you play on terrain that's not like that's not good for super heavies, you just get crapped on super hard. It's like way worse for them than it is for even knights and stuff, because their physical mass is so big, it's hard for them to get anywhere. So this list is running a World Eaters Demon Prince with the Helm of Brazen Ire. Which one's the helmet do? That's not Favorite of Khorne or the Berserker Glaive. I don't even know what it does. So the helm is half damage, so he's an absolute tank. He's a bit of a tank and spank. The other one's got Favorite of Khorne, the once per game reroll. And these are just basic bitch Demon Princes that sit on the ground. They give a 5-up invulnerable save now, but it does go to a 4-up if you're running 8-bound, which we are doing. And 2 Hellbrutes. Okay. So we're basically just like rocking a billion 8-bound with 2 World Eaters Demon Princes like hanging out with them, sitting behind them. And then we are running the Hellbrute, which I don't actually know what the World Eaters version of the Hellbrute does. Just the Chaos Space Marine one. Oh, this one has the the fight on target ability. Which has never been errated, by the way. Nobody actually knows how this ability works. It is implied that it can be targeted multiple times. It can be used to fight multiple times in the fight phase, but the rules state otherwise. But whether that's the intention of the rule, nobody knows. Because it is each time you get targeted. I think that the intention is that it overrides the core rules, but there's no like priority of rules rule in 40k, so you just make it up as you go. What are we equipping these guys with? Multi-meltas and fisty boys. So they're swinging a 5 attack, so 6 attacks on the charge. For 3 damage. Strength 13, 3 damage, okay. And then also a multi-melta. Although I wonder how often you actually get to shoot the multi-melta. I guess it's the turns that they're not in threat range. But because you're a lot of times just like rocking advance and charge with World Eaters, you don't actually get to shoot most of their guns because they are advancing most of the time. But we could also be bringing them off the table edges too and like rapid ingressing them, which is probably also fine. And then hoping that they like pull focus from the just enormous bricks of 8-bound running around the table. For 140 points, this profile is not that bad though. You have a 2+ save, so they're not the easiest thing in the world to kill. And they have a solid gun. Nice. Seems good. Is it like the hex mark? Does it keep shooting? Yeah, it does keep shooting. The funny thing is though, like if your opponent charges it and doesn't one-shot it, then it just fights them, right? Because they've targeted it. Whether or not that eats its like fight activation is the question of the day. But it can just keep shooting back if your opponent doesn't one-shot it. But it has to target specifically the Hellbrute. It doesn't have. It's not like some of the other like return fire effects target or trigger when you shoot other things. But the Hellbrute is basically, it's like a better version of the Wraithguard like ability, I guess, because it lets him fight in melee and it lets him shoot whatever he wants. So you could potentially be shooting him with something and he shoots at something that hasn't fired yet and you kill models that haven't attacked. So you actually like double your value on that guy. Which is pretty good. Each time this model is selected to shoot means once per shooting phase. Right, that's correct. Yeah, yeah. Selection to shoot is the step before you go to attacks in the shooting phase. It's like a little sub step. You like go to the shooting phase, and then you select a unit, select targets, select weapons, or select weapons, select targets. Make roll, hit roll, wound roll, saving throw, assign damage, all that stuff. Yeah, Xanos-san, I agree. It's annoying that like everyone's is slightly different, and that's just like classic 40k, right? Like 40k has always been like that, which has been annoying. Where everyone's just got like a slightly like weirder version of everyone else's abilities, which has just been obnoxious. All right, let's move on. I saw some people asking about Black Templars. I don't believe I have any Black Templars results. There were a lot of 2 and 1 Black Templars, but I don't know if I noticed any 3 and O's, at least in the events that I looked at. There might be some in the other events, but the ones that I took down, I didn't see any. But we can jump into regular Space Marines if we want. There is at the Las Vegas RTT, which we just talked about, there was a 3 and 0 Iron Hands. I think it's just an Iron Storm Assault, but 290 points, 295 points. Off of 3 games, which is nuts. We lost 5 points over the course of 3 games, which is kind of incredible. Yeah, so this is sort of a standard Iron Storm Spearhead. We're running a Target Augury Web and an Adept of the Omnissiah. So the lethal hit aura and the 0 damage and attack effect. Running 2 Inceptor squads, still worth 130 points, chat. These Inceptor squads are worth every penny still. And there are some listed that are still rocking like 6ers of them. I think that they're just too good to leave at home. Like, honestly, these units are insane. 1 Gladiator Lancer, an Infiltrator squad. And I do also think Infiltrators and maybe even Phobos Librarian Infiltrators are I'm calling it now, going to be one of the most important things that Space Marines have access to. Because they are so difficult for uppy downies to engage with. And given that I think Grey Knights are going to be good, I think Demons are going to be good, I think Hypercrypt Legion is going to be good, having anti-deep strike effects is going to be literally imperative. So I have a sneaking suspicion that Infiltrator squads are going to be such a meta pick that we're probably still going to see Space Marines do okay. There may be some other factions that can't get access to them, but they're so few and far between to do it efficiently. You can kind of do it in AdMech with like Archaeotechs. You can kind of do it in like at Militarum have a really terrible one. There's one in Agency Imperium. You can take henchmen squads with the Inquisitors, but it costs 1 million points. So like Space Marines have the best one, which is really good. 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, 2 Repulsor Execution, or 3 Repulsor Executioners actually. So I played against these on stream the other day, and they shocked me because you look at the Repulsor Executioner and you're like, all right, he's got a big 2 damage gun and a bunch of little shitty guns. But the thing to keep in mind is that the little shitty guns are all going to get lethal hits from the Tech Marine with the Augury Web. So he's shooting the big laser cannon, which is good, and it's getting floating rerolls from the detachment ability and stuff. So it's very high reliability. Then it shoots you however many times the Repulsor Executioner shoots. It's like 26 times. So let's get that idiot's data sheet over here. And having lethal hits and potentially 5-up lethal hits from... I just lost my Space Marine file entirely. All right, we found it. Potentially 5-up lethal hits from Mercy's weakness makes those guns absolutely ludicrously powerful. And like you wouldn't really like kind of grok it just looking at the data sheet, but holy crap, is that like real actual damage that is applied to your army. Once your opponent hands you like 15 saves from the defensive arrays, you're like, wait a minute. This isn't supposed to be killing me, but it actually is. Where's the stupid repulsor? Oh, here he is. Yeah, so it has the we're taking laser destroyers, right? Yeah, of course. So it has the 2-shot laser destroyer, but we have the floating reroll from the detachment, which is going to make that hit a little bit better. And then it's shooting 10 defensive array shots. It's shooting it's got onslaught Gatling cannon, defensive array, a heavy bolter, twin heavy stubber. You can take another heavy stubber. So it's shooting 10 plus 6, 19 shots plus an Icarus. So like 21 plus the onslaught Gatling cannon. So 33 additional shots on top of the laser destroyer. Oh, plus a heavy bolter. So 30... What is that? What did we say? 36 shots? So 36 attacks with lethal hits? And that's like where the actual damage comes from. You're gonna like CP reroll through the laser destroyers or whatever. Like maybe they get through, or they'll miss, or they'll fail to wound, or roll ones or something. But then the little shots, you shoot 36 shots, and suddenly you hand your opponent like 20 saves, and they're like, oh, okay, I guess I will just fail a bunch of these. Like I'm saving on 3s or whatever, because it's all AP 0 and. You probably have 3-up save, and so you just like take 10 damage or something. Take 5 damage from all the little crappy guns, which is insane. It's crazy. And for 220 points, like that's what you pay for like an aggressor squad. And this guy has as many shots as an aggressor squad, plus a laser destroyer, plus he's toughness 12 with 16 wins. I think in this detachment specifically, executioners, oh my god, they are much better than I give them credit for initially. 2 scout squads and a Calidus assassin for support, all good stuff. Regimental attaches. Yeah, so Swordsman Smith, the problem with regimental attaches is that they're not 40 points. It says 40 points on the datasheet, but they have to attach to a command squad, which means they're actually 100 points. You will probably already have one command squad, right? So you're probably taking one for the Leontis unit. But other than that, like, I don't know how many command squads you're taking. Maybe people end up with 2 command squads, but it's not like infiltrators where you can pay 100 and you get this like unit with a bunch of extra stuff to do. The attaches don't really do anything by themselves, and you already have to basically buy another character in order to unlock them, which is why their thing is really awkward and weird. But having one of them in your list for 40 is like probably fine. All right. We have one more Marine list to talk about. This is from Ministorum Monthly. This is Death Watch. If Damned Legion's in chat, then appreciate. Then this one's after your own heart, my dude. This one running the old school Black Spear Task Force. 1 Justiciar, so we got a fights first guy. Phobos Librarian, so yeah, we're taking the unshootable dudes. Probably a infiltrator squad. Yep, there it is. So the even better thing about the infiltrator squad is that not only does it push back normal deep strikes, and it push back 3-inch deep strikes. If you hide the rest of your team, and you make it so that they can't be shot easily, then when Immortals come down out of Hypercrypt Legion, if they can only see the infiltrators, they don't get to use their shoot and skew. So they have to come back 12 inches away from you and then sit there for a turn and look like a big dummy because they don't have any legal targets if you're hiding from them. So they just don't resolve their attacks and they don't get to trigger their Chronomancer ability. I believe that's how that works, because I believe that their ability triggers after their attacks are resolved. I'm gonna double check that real quick before I misspeak here. But that is assuming that I'm not misremembering, that is useful anti-hypercrypt tech. Oh, okay. You might be able to do it anyway. It is after they have shot, not after they've resolved their attack. So I might be a crazy person. I guess at the very least, they're not doing anything. They're not attacking anyone. Nobody's dead. They're just hanging out. They're already too far away to get to the objective, probably, and then they also don't get to do any damage. So you're just like your opponent just hands you the unit for free. Yeah, it is after they've shot. Okay. That's another one. Speaking of unclear rules, that's another one. Is shooting having been selected to shoot, or is shooting having resolved your attacks? Nobody really knows. But that's the ruling that makes Abaddon able to just perform Dark Pacts by himself in the back corner and generate CP. That's the same wording. But so that's questionably useful. But anyway, we are taking in this list 2 Deathwatch veteran units with in Rhinos, plus a big Centurion Assault Squad. That's a cool pick. These guys do have the Teleportarium, so they are able to uppy downy the Centurion Assault Squad, which is pretty cool. They can do the same with the Inceptors, and I believe that the rule is that I don't know if they deep strike, so I don't think they can use Meteoric Descent when they teleport. It's been a hot minute since we've talked about Deathwatch on this channel, chat, because they have not been relevant since like the beginning of the edition. Yeah, so they just get a deep strike, so they can't Meteoric Descent, but that's probably fine. You don't really need it. But we are running the Inceptors with Assault Bolters, so they do get the access to all of the like bolt weapon attacks, the special bolter ammo. So they can go up to base AP2 and 24-inch range. They can get Ignore Cover, which is kind of the same. Or they can get anti-infantry, anti-monster. So that's like, it might even be a little bit of anti-Catan shard tech, because you can be firing 18 anti-monster 5 and potentially sustain 2 shots. So if you have selected the monster as the Oath of Moment target, you can be re-rolling them. So you're shooting 18 times. You probably get 6 5-up, or 6 or 3 sustains. You full re-roll everything to try to get more sustains, and you get like 2 more. So you get 10 additional hits, plus you're already probably getting 10 hits. So it's like 20, and then you're full re-rolling. So you probably get like, you're forcing like 12 saves or so on whatever you're shooting at. It's not, I guess it's not a one-shot kill, but it's pretty significant damage. And then the ability to do that at an extended range against infantry that you don't necessarily need the anti-monster on is really, really strong too. We have a Repulsor Executioner, 1 Spectrus kill team. I don't know if the Spectrus kill teams get the Omni Scramblers. If I remember correctly, they have like a Guerrilla Tactics equivalent ability. Here's the Spectrus guys. Yeah, they have an end of the opponent's turn. They can jump into Strategic Reserve and then come back. But I don't believe they have, like, Omni Scramblers. No. Which is a little sad. But, and they're also, they have a 6-inch scout, but, like, awkwardly, if you attach the Phobos Librarian into them, he actually removes their scout because he doesn't have it himself. So, a little bit of anti-synergy. But he's definitely going into the Infiltrator team. But these guys are like, they're like sort of scouts with extra steps, right? Because they're more expensive, significantly more expensive. But they have Infiltrator plus Scout, and they're like much more, they do a lot more stuff, right? And they also have the Scout like special ability too. So they're just very expensive scouts, I guess. Yeah, it's an interesting inclusion. Funky stuff. Hey, yeah, Damn Legion in chat. What's up, dude? We picked these guys out just for you. Well, that's cool. It's nice to see Deathwatch back on the table. Definitely, I mean, Deathwatch veteran teams are like still super strong. Just the fact that they have so much damage from their special heavy weapons, either the heavy bolters or the frag cannons, and then they also have they can get advance and charge from Waspmasters. Like that's a big deal. Plus they have like they didn't take Tome of the Ectoclades in this list, which is shocking because it seems like it's kind of like the best thing that they have in the sub faction. But I mean, maybe we just decided we don't need it. If we take everything we take is twin links because it's all like Inceptor squads. Like who cares about getting wound rerolls? The Centurion Assault squad's also all twin linked. I mean, the Repulsor would like it, I guess, but it's a weird one to leave at home, but I think it is expensive, so it makes sense. Really on the Thunder Coil Harpoon kick? Hell yeah. Yeah, the like floating wound reroll for Thunder Coil Harpoon is like super legit for sure. Has shot does mean after resolving attacks, does it? What does Dark Pact say? Because the ruling is that Dark Pact is the one that lets you do things after you've resolved it. Oh, Dark Pact is just selection, I guess. And then they trigger off of having done their thing? I don't know. It's a whole thing. Yeah, I guess they trigger off having Dark Pacted. So the difference is that they can be selected even if they have no eligible targets. Alright, you might be right, chat. That might be stone cold solid anti Necron tech. Leave it to Deathwatch to have the good anti Necron tech. That's probably how it works. I can never keep it straight. All of the different having done a thing. All right, who should we jump on? A lot of people were talking about Drukhari, so we can talk about Drukhari next. There's a lot more factions that we have a billion entries to talk about. Some of them I think are going to be largely samey, so we're probably going to shorten them down a little bit. I'm just going to note that what we've talked about so that I don't go back over and we end up talking about the same faction a million times. My God, the strike through key on my keyboard on this app is like insane. All right, let's talk about some Drukhari, everybody. So this is Cheesemonger Monthly, an event name after my own heart, as a great fan of cheese. Wyatt Harris, undefeated with some Sky Splinter Assault action, chat. So we get to talk about the brand new detachments available for Drukhari. We've got an Archon with Nightmare Shroud, and one with Spiteful Raider, which I think is the... this one I'm definitely going to have to make sure that I don't mess up. The Spiteful Raider, I believe, is the pain tokens, additional pain tokens generated when you kill enemies on objectives. It is, yep. Yeah, so Spiteful Raider, when you're selected to, when you destroy an enemy unit in range of an objective, you gain an additional pain token. The Nightmare Shroud is you can't fire Overwatch against the unit when it disembarks transport. Which is until end of turn, which is cool. So you can disembark and then charge, entirely be immune to. Disembark, potentially move and then charge, be immune to Overwatch entirely, which is super strong. Into the matchups where Overwatch is dangerous, like a lot of Marines or like Thousand Suns, it's just a killer. It's just absolutely immune to attacks. Plus Lilith Hesperax. 10 Witches for Lilith, a Cavalry Warrior unit, and a Rack unit. Plus 1 Raider. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my God, 6 Venoms. The full game, or 5 Venoms. The full, almost the full brace of Venoms. 2 Incubi. So the Incubi can attach the Archons now. And the tech is that they get plus 1 AP when they are empowered. The Archon gives them hit and wound rerolls when they're empowered. And then you can, using the Stratagem, you can disembark, transport, and then charge. Pounce on the Prey, it's called. So they have a pretty strong threat range in a Venom. The Venom moves 14, and then they disembark 3, and then they can charge, which is pretty good. And then they do a million damage with a bunch of rerolls and plus 1 AP. They also gain Lance, which is the other kind of kicker, so that they Drazhar is not really necessary anymore because they used to be kind of really reliant on the plus 1 to wound from Drazhar, but now that they just get Lance from disembarking a transport, they're low strength, so they're probably wounding you on 5s, but 5s with full rerolls at AP, I think they go to AP 3, right? Is like actually fairly relevant. And they are good enough, especially given the fact that they are, yeah, they go to AP 3. Especially given the fact that they're pretty cheap. The unit plus the Archon's only 150 points, I think. Yeah, they're like 75 plus the upgrade. That they will probably like trade for their points value. And then buy you a lot of tempo, which is good because this army is all about tempo. And you can potentially even jump back into the transport after they've attacked because they have Wraith-like Retreat. End of the fight phase, if you have fought, then you can make a normal move, and then you can go into a transport. If you're a Witch unit, you can go anywhere you want, which is cool. We then have 3 Ravagers, a Mandrake unit, and 3 units of Talos. Interesting. So the other cool thing about this detachment, and the reason that it's hugely transformative to Drukhari, is that they still get all the stuff they got from their previous lists. So you can still take Ravagers, you can still take Scourges, you can still take Talos, like all these units that were pretty good. They don't really have any particular synergy with the detachment. Ravagers do because they can Knight Shield for an invuln save, but that's about it. But the only thing you're really losing is like Fire and Fade, basically. And otherwise, and additional access to pain tokens, which you got from Real Space Raid. But otherwise, the stratagems and the detachment ability were really bad. So it's like a strict upgrade, and you still have pain tokens. Your pain tokens are better, and they're on units that are more effective. So it's altogether just like a big upgrade for Drukhari across the board. Moving on. We have Scarlet Throne, Polly Wallace. I told you guys there'd be a million Necrons, right? Necrons everywhere. Polly Wallace was running Sky Splinter Assault. This one, triple Archons, plus a Beastmaster, plus Lilith. Cavalite Warrior unit, 2 Witch squads. The Witches being able to fight and then move is like kind of a big deal, I think. I bet that's an underutilized part of the detachment, because you can get into situations where like Witches are just dumping OC all over your table edge, basically. This one's only 4 Venoms, but 2 Raiders, a Court of the Archon. Are we running like a ground-pounding Cabalite Warrior unit? I guess, interestingly, you could split a Cabalite unit with the Venom and put the splinters in the splinter rifles in the Venom, and then put the Court of the Archon plus the heavy weapons out of the Cabalite Warrior unit, plus a Archon into a Raider, and then disembark it. And when you disembark it, you get access to Skyborn Annihilation. So you get sustained 2 on a Cabalite Warrior unit, and you're firing with all of the Cabalite heavy weapons and the and all of the Court of the Archon weapons, and they have a couple good ones, I think, especially from the I-beam lasers from like the Cyclops guy. Yeah, the I-burst. Oh, it's a torrent, so it doesn't do anything. Just kidding. I guess they're a lethal hit. Which I guess is okay. So you could just fish for... This is less exciting than I thought it was. You can fish for sustain, or for criticals, and get sustain 2 lethals, but you don't have enhanced criticals, so you're just rolling for 6s, I guess. Means that like a 6 on a Dark Lance is like kind of exciting. if you roll it, it's like the end of the world for your opponent. Yeah. All right. Well, that's fine, I guess. And then they get wound rerolls because there's an Archon in the unit. But the Court of the Archon's like just a good unit anyway, for the Archon to join into, regardless. Big 10 man of Incubi. All right. Well, we know what's going in one of these Raiders. There's 10 Incubi. There's also I don't believe that it works. That you can arrive from Deep Strike in charge, but one thing that you can do now with the new rules changes is that you can disembark after you Deep Strike, so you can reserve the Raiders and then drop them and actually get your dudes out and get the benefit of the detachment. I don't believe it works for Pounce on the Prey. But maybe it does. If you're willing to risk a 9-incher, I actually think it does. The transport's considered, after you deep strike a transport, it's considered to have made a normal move, but your infantry unit is ineligible to charge, but the stratagem says you are. And it's not after you make the normal move, which would be a trigger that the transport couldn't have, but it's after you disembark. So I think that works. It's kind of cool. 2 units of Mandrakes, 3 units of Scourges. So no Ravagers this time around. We dropped the Ravagers for Scourges. But otherwise kind of the same idea. It's all good stuff. Let's take a look at a different one. So, interestingly, Keely Pask at Emperor's Pride RTT, and I noted this one down separately because I believe all of these are Sky Splinter Assault except for Keely's list. And the interesting thing about that is that the downside of the Sky Splinter is that it doesn't have very many pain tokens, because it doesn't start with the same number of pain tokens, and you don't get Art of Pain, so you don't get the dude who just passively generates 2 additional pain tokens. So the pain token economy for the Sky Splinter Assault is actually much worse than it is for Real Space Raid. So there is still a reason to consider taking Real Space Raid in the comparison. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We're kind of trying to make use, I think, of the +1 AP that you get if you empower your melee units. So we're taking Real Space Raid, and we have an Archon, Lilith, and Urian Rakarth. So we are getting +3 pain tokens to begin with. And I imagine that this list is running multiple Kronos. Yeah, just one Kronos, I guess. But we do have the ability to regenerate those pain tokens over the course of the game. We then got a Succubus with Blood Dancer. So Blood Dancer being +1 attacks and armor penetration while empowered, plus 2 attacks and armor penetration. So she nets +3 AP when empowered, because you're also base getting +1. So the look at the Succubus datasheet. So the oh, where is it? Let me see the Succubus Codex. What the heck? Oh, the Drukhari Codex is in a weird order. Jesus Christ. Okay, everything's like all mixed up in there. Usually the character's at the front of the index, but not this one. So she ends up being anti-infantry 3, 8 attacks. You're just fighting infantry ideally, I think. So the strength does not matter. EP 5? So you punch through a 2+ save? Unnecessary. And sustain 1. Which you're probably just rolling for because you hit on 2s anyway. That's pretty good. Plus your witches are also getting +1 AP as well. So they're also sort of benefiting from the whole combo too. So it ends up being quite a bit of damage, I think, from that Succubus. At least into like medium infantry. EP 5 seems kind of unnecessary, but it seems pretty good anyway. Yeah, I think we've had Keely on the channel before. We've had some streamed games from him for sure on T5S2 events, which has been fun. All right, we're then running a Capitalite Warrior unit, 2 units of Rax, 1 of 10, interestingly, probably for Urian to join into and regenerate guys back in. 2 Raiders, 3 Venoms, the Kronos for regenerating dudes, an Incubi unit for Drashar to join into. So we actually have actual Drashar in this list, not because we don't have Lance available for them, so we need the +1 to win somewhere. So in the comparison between the Sky Splinter Incubi and the Real Space Raid Incubi, these guys don't have Lance, and they're kind of trading the wound rerolls from the Archon for +1 to wound from Drashar. But you also get Drashar, and Drashar himself is like super strong with +1 AP too. 5 Mandrakes, a Ravager, and then 3 units of Scourges with Dark Lances, 1 unit with Haywire Blasters, interestingly, blow up some vehicles, and then 2 Talos. Pretty cool. So I think it's cool to see that despite the fact that Drukhari just got like this massive, huge new thing that's very exciting, the buffs to the core faction, like the rewrites that they did to the faction itself, were cool enough that we are seeing people go back to the original detachment. And I know there are some people who are like, actually, I think Real Space Raid, now that we have like actual combat units that can actually do damage in melee, Real Space Raid by itself is like probably fine, which is like pretty sweet. Oh.
My Dark Eldar list went 4-1, not a victory but not bad either.
El Tempered Fireblade, congratulations. That's a good record. I think Dark Eldar were in an interesting spot previously because, like, I think that they were just a faction that was kind of generically good enough to like win. But they weren't very consistent at it. Like, they would get blown out by some matchups specifically, but because they were just like a million everyone everywhere, and also they had transports, which are good, and also they had a million Dark Lances, which were good. If you're in a matchup where Dark Lances are good and your opponent can't deal with transports, you just win the game. Like, you just skew them out of the game. But many matchups that wasn't the case, which is why they weren't doing so hot. But the Dark Lance like plus transport skew is actually real. Damn Legion, if you have more than one unit that has a CP increase ability, can it stack? Like that give you command points? No. You can only get one additional command point every round. So usually you just stick to one. And that includes card discard. So if you're playing tactical secondaries, then you just usually have it anyway, for a large majority of the game. All right, let's move to talking about the next biggest faction that I have on the list here is Orks. And I think Orks are going to be, I think we can probably kind of burn through Orks because I think a lot of what they have is going to be kind of the same. But we will do our due diligence on them. So we're at the Red Claw full auto today. Dave Crookshank running some green skins. This one's got a Beast Boss with kind of a bit brutal, so fall back and charge. Squigosaur Boss with Head Wampus Kill Choppa. Mazrak Scragbad, and a War Boss with Follow Me Lads for the extra movement. We've got a big Beast Snagga Boy Squad. 1, 2, 3, 4 regular boy squads in trucks. So this is a classic truck build. 5 trucks to keep those guys in. 1 big battle wagon, because it's cheap now. I think just like putting a bunch of dudes inside, right? 1 unit of Knobs, 2 units of Gretchen, and 3 Stormboys units. Yeah, I think just kind of a regular old truck rush. We're seeing the heavy vehicles being taken more often in Orc lists because they did get these big points decreases, but we already saw them already, to be honest. Like, a lot of the highest performing Orc factions, like Shaw Naden, swears by the Battle Wagon. And I know a lot of people were taking Battle Wagons as a one-off. We're definitely going to see them more often, but trucks is just still so efficient. 65 points for a dedicated transport with a big firing deck is just good to have. This is a pretty sweet dude. We have done Tau already, chat, yep. Went against the new Drukhari detachment at Gongai. Had more to do with his guns bouncing off a Land Raider. It was supposed to be an armor contempt. Yeah. That could just happen, right? When you're like, I'll roll a 4 to hit, and then you roll a 4 to save. We're just like, let's roll the dice and see if anything occurs out of this shooting activation. And the answer is like usually meh. War in the North, RTT. Bit of a draw at the final round there. This was Dark Angels, but I think it's pre-supplement Dark Angels, so I don't know if we want to talk about that. There's a Black Templars here that we didn't really touch on. In Righteous Crusaders, interestingly. But running Grimaldus, Hellbrandt, Captain, double Lieutenants, plus Primaris Crusader squads. So we are... It looks like filling Land Raiders with Crusaders. These Crusader squads are 1 of 20. That's probably Grimaldus' unit. Plus 2 of 10. And then 2 Sword Brethren teams. The Sword Brethren, I think we are just too big to fit like double Sword Brethren plus characters into it, plus 2 characters into a unit. But we can just be taking like Captain plus Lieutenant in a transport with them, which is a pretty reasonable amount of damage. Seems good. All right, quick aside to talk about Black Templars real quick, because some people were asking about them. But we want to talk about Orcs here. Ice Wall Piranu. running Orks. Double Beast Boss, one with Follow Me Lads, plus a Squigosaur Boss, plus Snickrot, plus Mazrog, plus a Smash a Squignog, and Zodgrog Wartsnappa. So he's the Gretchen guy. Snickrot is the Commando guy. Do we have Commandos? No, we don't have Commandos. But I think you can take him, and I think he can uppy downy by himself, right? So he can just jump away. He's kind of like a little Gaunt's Ghost sort of dude. So as an anti-infiltrator sort of bonus, or anti-infiltrator technology, he seems pretty good. Yeah, his leadership ability is like trash. You have the benefit of cover. Oh, wow. We probably have the benefit of cover anyway, because we're playing 10th edition. But then, yeah, he gets an uppy downy. It doesn't matter. It's just his model's unit. It doesn't matter if he's leading an army, a unit. He's not the hardest thing to kill. He does have stealth and 6 wounds, but you'll get him if you want him. But the fact that he can just like infiltrate, like set on an objective or screen out your opponent's infiltrators, and then once per game, just jump it up. And then do actions. It's even in your movement phase, so it's better than a normal uppy downy because it happens. You don't have to declare it at the end of your opponent's movement phase, and you get to see where your army goes, and then you get to decide to move him. So for how many points is he? 65 points? 85 points? For 85 points, you just get like a guaranteed secondary completion once per game. Seems good. I'd take that. That's solid. That's some cool technology right there. 85 feels like a little bit much for him, but that uppy downy is really good. Zodgrod gives the Gretchen a big scout move and -1 to hit and wound, if I remember correctly. So he just jumps into a Gretchen unit, and you can probably grab a command, an objective if you are going second to get multiple rolls to try to regenerate CP. Hunter Rig, plus 2 Rucka Truck Squig Buggies, a big Squig Hog Boys unit for the Squig Hog Knob, and then a Storm Boys unit for utility. I don't know if I've seen Rucka Trucks in this edition. You shoot the green Healy Squig to like heal all your dudes and replenish their WA bar. It's a little Speed Freaks joke for you right there. A little reference. Right there. So they still have the indirect fire weapon. D6 plus 6. Strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage. Get +1 to hit against infantry. Oh, excuse me, show. So you're probably still on 5s. And then you can, once per battle, hit somebody for D6 mortal wounds sometimes. It's not a particularly impressive range profile, but if you are shooting directly with them, it's probably okay. Like, the benefit, I guess, is that you can put pressure on them with the indirect shooting, and then as soon as they move to line of sight, then you kind of go off. They do ignore cover, I guess, which is good. So they are actually like AP1, not basically just AP0. But D6 plus 6 blast means you're probably shooting 11 times hitting on 5, so you get 3 hits or so. Maybe 4. Like 3 wounds. You might kill 2 guys, but with multiple Rucka Trucks, that stacks up. Alright, let's see it. Seems okay. I'll buy that for $1. One day Speed Freak should be playable by the masses again, yeah. And I'm waiting for that day. I'm excited for that game to come back. That game was sweet. We'll play the crap out of the game in the server once that returns. Moving on to Valkyrie Wargaming, Randy Brigham running Orks. This time we got Gazgul Thraka coming back with Captain Badrook, Mazrek Scragbad, a WA banner knob. There's so much idiosyncrasies with the WA banner. I think that ability just needs like a rewrite. They just go back to the drawing board with that guy. The problem with the WA banner knob is that it's entirely undecided, like how he's actually supposed to interact with any abilities. because he gives you the benefits of declaring a law, but he doesn't actually make it like so that you declared a law. Yeah, you get the benefits of the law ability as if you had declared a law. So if you have anything else that says, like, if you declared a law this round, do a thing, you theoretically don't get that. In addition, because the model uses the ability, if it's embarked in a transport, it can't do it because you can't do anything when you're in a transport. You can't do anything active when you're in a transport. So, like, he has to stand on the table for a turn and just, like, hang out for a bit and then do his law banner. It's just like kind of silly. Like, I feel like you want to, I don't know, just make it just, I don't know, have the exact effect of a law for another turn. It's very silly. We're then running triple war boss, 1 cunning but brutal, and then 2 standard war bosses, plus a boy squad. 2 trucks, a battle wagon for the boy squad, so 1 truck's probably just for the flash kits. The other truck, I guess, just gets Gretchen. Oh, we could probably put knobs in it. So you can also put the 20-man boys down on the table and just run with them and have them be the law banner unit, because then they're not in a transport, and then fill the battle wagon with the bigger guys. Although these are our only 5-mans of knobs for the war bosses to jump into. Yeah, I think that's probably how it works out, because you get the war banner, the law banner knob, if I remember correctly, can join alongside the war boss as well. I think that's a boys. An effect of the boys, is that right? Yeah, you can have 2 leaders attached instead of 1 if one of them is a war boss. So you can attach the war boss with the knob as well. And then there are 22-man, just foot slogging around the table, and you can fill the other transports up with the knobs and the smaller squads. Seems solid. There's a lot of war bosses, but they're kind of the star of the show when it comes to the foot infantry units. So that makes sense. People in here talking about Thousand Suns. We can talk about Thousand Suns next if we want to. It is probably similar to Sean Naden's list. It has to be a little bit different because a lot of the stuff got points increases. So there's probably some differences, but I bet it's very similar. Because the trucks all went up. Did the knobs go up? Some other stuff got bumped. It doesn't have squig hogs. I know squig hogs went up like a billion points for whatever reason. Yeah, knobs went up as well, and trucks. So this list went up quite a bit. I guess the battle wagon went down, so it's kind of a wash. So it's, but it actually ends up being the same, because you lose a little bit on the battle wagon too. All right, what are we doing next, chat? It kind of sounds like people want to see Thousand Suns. But we can also talk about any of the factions that we haven't done already. So you have yet to talk about Aeldari, Votann, all the Knights, Adeptus Mechanicus, Demons, Sisters, Thousand Suns, Tyranids, Grey Knights, and Astra Militarum all had undefeated results, which is cool. So I think we'll just dive into Thousand Suns next, probably. Not too many undefeated results from them. I think as is kind of to be expected. I don't know if I rate Thousand Suns too highly with the new updates, to be honest, chat. And honestly, one of these is not even a 3-0. think we'll just stick ourselves to 3-0 for today. So we're back to Warp Charge Gaming. Walker Juilliard went 3-0 with 1,000 Suns. Pretty good results as well. 95, 97, 96. That's very solid. After years of deliberation, admitted we did something wrong. No, never. Magnus the Red is a perfect, indomitable god. He makes no mistakes. Running Ahriman, an Arcane Vortex Infernal Master, and double Sorcerers. One with Crystal, one with Forbidden Lore. Plus Magnus, which you gotta take, because he's the only thing in the army that does anything. A big 10-man with Warflamers. It's probably Ahriman's Brick. And then 1, 2, 3 smaller Warflamer bricks for each of the other characters. So we have the Sorcerers in one, the Infernal Master in one, and then Ahriman in the big one. A Rhino to keep them from dying to indirect fire. So that probably puts in... Usually how the Rhino works in these lists is that the Ahriman's unit goes in if they have indirect fire. If they don't, oftentimes you'll put the Sorcerer unit in because it is the toughest to actually get to grips with people. A Mutolith Vortex Beast, 1 unit of Chaos Spawn, a unit of Zengor Enlightened, Blue Horrors, and the Changeling. So you have to take the Blue Horrors to unlock the Changeling now, so he costs like 200 points. Having the Blue Horrors is pretty good, and one thing that isn't too bad for 1,000 Suns is like blues and pinks are actually like a pretty reasonable unit. The problem is that, and I think the reason that 1,000 Suns are going to struggle a little bit is that they don't actually mesh with any of their faction abilities. So you're paying a bunch of points for units that entirely just score you points sometimes. And while they are good at scoring points, it means that the army on the whole is weaker at doing damage. So you're kind of like more on you're more heavily reliant on Magnus to like support the entire team. It's like the Magnus and Ahriman show, and you're just like hoping you can get enough damage out of them. And I think it's going to be a rough time, but it worked out. It worked out for Walker. And we have one more from Tri-City Takedown as well. Nicholas From, also 3-0 with our 1,000 Suns friends. And this is a little bit more of a classic list. Ahriman, 2 Disc Sorcerers, 2 Infernal Masters, or 3 Infernal Masters, excuse me, plus Magnus. So no base Sorcerers, but we're just taking all the Infernal Masters. Sometimes that's beneficial just simply because we need more Cabal points, and Infernal Masters are the cheapest source of Cabal points that the faction has. They're 45 points per Cabal point, essentially, whereas the base Sorcerers only give you 1, and they give you 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rubric units with Warflamers to attach the characters into, a Cultist unit, and 2 units of Pink Horrors, yeah. So the Pink Horrors, again, I think are actually fairly good. They can still be killed by anti-infantry shooting, but it takes so long to kill them that they're kind of, in a lot of instances, like invincible. And they can jump off the sides and do actions and stuff just fine. I'm wondering if there's a universe where 1,000 Suns move to take multiple Cultist units. Because I think the first Cultist unit has like a lot of value, but the second one doesn't necessarily. But being able to, in the instances where you don't need it to just screen out aggression, being able to like reserve it and jump it off the side of the table to do secondaries or something seems pretty good. And 1,000 Suns often want the extra command points, and Cultists giving up command points most of the time when they die also helps. So you can kind of stretch your command point generation further. I don't know. I think there's a little bit of play to be had there. But I do think that the Pink Horrors are... There's something, at least, I guess. Having Deep Strike and being like functionally immortal is pretty good. And it's not quite the same as being the Blue Scribes, but it's I guess a consolation prize. That's all the 1,000 Suns though. 1,000 Suns not too popular right now, which I think is not surprising, honestly. because they are in a rough spot, in my opinion. I think they were already... They were... The biggest benefit, I think, to be fair, that Thousand Sons have is that Games Workshop has an undying hard-on for nerfing indirect fire, and indirect fire cucks Thousand Sons so hard because Rubric Marines just like donate their bodies to science as soon as you fire an artillery piece at them. And having less artillery to worry about definitely helps the faction. They are also like, I think you could maybe build to have like a coin flip into Chaos Space Marines, but it was so miserable that matchup sucked super hard, and having Chaos Space Marines be less powerful is a big deal too. I don't know if there's like if the meta is going to shake out in a way that's favorable for Thousand Sons, but that definitely helps a little bit. I do think that they are weak to like deep striking though, and deep striking feels like it's the way of the future because we're going to see a lot of Grey Knights and Hypercrypta in my opinion. And that's tough for Thousand Sons to deal with because they don't have any deep strike denial. Literally the only forward operator they have is scouting cultists, and they have very limited access to like cheap utility, which is a little bit awkward. All right. Some people were asking about Tyranids, I think is the next one we'll talk about. Only a single Tyranid list undefeated this weekend, chat, out of like the whatever, like 50 that we've talked about so far. And I think that's also, they're in a similar spot to Thousand Sons for sure. Although I don't know. I feel like Demons got a harder nerf. Thousand Sons just got like a mechanical nerf from an entirely different faction. They got like hit on the crossfire. Demons just straight up got, or Tyranids, excuse me, just straight up got nerfed. Why? Who was... What? Because like Unending Swarm, I guess? I don't even know. I don't even know, chat. I couldn't tell you. John Van Dusen from the Grodnards RTT went undefeated with an invasion fleet. Big Carnifex Brick. So we have the Hive Tyrant to duplicate our rapid regen. A big Carnifex unit. Old 1-eye +2 Carnifexes with all the guns. Double Exocrine, triple Maleceptor, double Neurolictor, double Pyrovore, Ripper Swarm. There's a Screamer Killer and a Tranifex. So we are using the newly discounted stuff. So I think this list actually ended up netting points back. You lose 30 on the Neurolictors, and we didn't take any little guys. Yeah, just 30 on the Neurolictors, but we gained back 25 on the Screamer Killer and like whatever 30 or something on the Tranifex. So this list is actually slightly cheaper, but I mean, is the Screamer Killer even worth 145? I don't know. It's questionable, I think. But being able to situationally turn on the Neurolictor Aurora if your opponent like rolls bad is kind of nice. It feels like you want multiple of them, but they do have a high attack volume. They're 10 attacks apiece, so they do get the invasion fleet benefits pretty well. And then we have an Acid Spray Tyrannifex, just like be a Tyrannifex, I guess. A single win to their name in 3 months been nerfed. Yeah, it's basically how it works, you know. Three Tyrannifexes. I'm gonna be honest, Chad, I don't even know what a Tyrannifex does anymore. I'm like so checked out of that unit. If it's not like a bio warrior or a snake, like I don't even want to deal with it. I know that they just keep eating nerfs because they suck super hard. They have, this data sheet says -1 damage, but they have the shitty ablative armor rule right now, which is just like dramatically worse. Rocking the Acid Spray for D6 +6 AP 2 damage. That's pretty good. Although it doesn't, it's a not cover ignoring torrent, so it's actually only like AP 1. Heaven forbid that Tyranid's torrent ignores cover. That would be crazy, like everyone else's does. And they don't really have good access to rerolls for their big guns either. I mean, I guess that Overwatch is good. It's kind of in an interesting spot though, where it's like direct. it's a weird profile. It's good on the Overwatch, and the dude's like relatively hard to kill by himself, right? Because he's like a 0-up save and cover, or 1-up save and cover. But the funky part is that, and potentially a 5+ feel no pain, and then you get the once per game 0 damage. But he's competing directly, especially with the anti-infantry profiles, with all this other shooting. And the only benefit that he has is that he Overwatch is good. But he's more expensive, like of like similar resilience to a Maleceptor. And kind of more awkward to use. Worse in melee too. I don't know. I guess with the Neurolictors active, he's okay, and maybe like you also Pyrovore somebody. So if you like do the full Wombo combo and he's +1 to wound and effectively AP3, we're like getting somewhere. But I don't know if you want to do that to a 200-point unit. You're already buffing a guy who's kind of inefficient by himself. Found it odd that of the 45% factions, like Imperial Knights Guard, Drukhari, Space Vampires, Blood Angels, and Tyranids, only Tyranids not get significant rules tweaks. Yeah, I think it's because they're like worried about Unending Swarm. I think that I imagine that the prevailing wisdom is that if you want to be competitive with Tyranids, you play the degenerate infantry skew and hope that you get good matchups. And the other units in the faction that are like less silly are kind of like, I guess, just like hanging their hat on how good Unending Swarm can sometimes be. And it's kind of a situation like Adeptus Mechanicus, where like Adeptus Mechanicus is surviving off Skitarii Hunter cohort, but the rest of the faction's like super trash. And I think that the Tyranids are in like a sort of similar spot, where it might be that one detachment has a solid win rate, and then the rest of the faction just gets like nuked because of that. Which, I mean, at least they have a playable archetype potentially. We'll see how much infantry sweeping gets played in the new meta, because that's going to determine a lot of whether Tyranids are good. I do think that the game at LVO with Matt Laura versus the Sam Pope playing Unending Swarm is probably representative of how that matchup goes a lot of times. There was some stuff I think that Sam was probably not aware of. Like he used the reactive move strat off the reactive redeploy off of being shot at on the Immortals, and that was kind of like blew out the game. But given that like most armies just have like passive, like a lot of passive infantry sweeping, and if you use it well, you can beat Unending Swarm. So I don't know how it's gonna do. I don't rate Tyranids particularly highly this season. I think it's gonna be rough for them. But it is what it is. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you get a whole edition of being terrible. Speaking of AdMac, we can talk about AdMac next. They also had one undefeated result, which I have somewhere in here. Yeah, so this is the Heroes Monthly. David Villarreal with an Explorator Maniple. That's cool. We have to actually look up what their detachment abilities are, because I always forget. If it's not Hunter cohort, if we're not playing the Skunters, I don't even know what they do. So this is the one that chooses objective markers, and you get rerolls on the objective marker, and then it unlocks a bunch of your strats. Detachment's actually probably pretty good. I don't think it's going to be as consistent as Hunter cohort, but it's probably pretty good. So a cybernetic Datasmith with Artisan. So he gives he has a Fate's Messenger ability. While you're within range of your acquisition objective marker, you get a hit, wound, or saving throw changed to a 6 per phase. So that's cool. A Dominus with Logis. Get +1 to hit against an enemy on your acquisition marker. And then a Techno-Archaeologist, because they're good at screening. Skitarii Rangers, 1 Skitarii Vanguard, 3 units of Iron Strider Ballistari. So we can really like supercharge their efficiency, right? Because they are, I guess they don't really benefit from the rerolls because they're already rerolling their wound rolls. Which is, so I guess, yeah, I guess it's not quite as exciting. But I guess they're just good. I don't know. Seems fine. A unit of Castellan robots for that Cybernetica data supposed to jump into. Big unit of breachers. Plus an infiltrator unit. 3 Sidonian Dragoons. With 3 of 3 with Taser Lances. 2 of 1 with Jezzails. So a grand total of 11 Sidonian Dragoons. Okay, that's a lot. There we go. And they're getting reroll 1s to wound. And you can situationally... Yeah, I don't know if there's... you can consolidate 6 inches towards your acquisition objective marker. So you can pay a CP to count an objective marker as your acquired objective marker. And then you can pay a CP to consolidate towards it. So they're probably very good at stealing objectives randomly. If they're just like jumping up the table. And then rerolling wounds is rerolling 1s to wound is pretty good with them as well, because they usually get a lot of hits with Lance anyway. Plus a Calidus Assassin to reroll or to score stuff. It's an interesting one. I definitely expected Hunter cohort, but it is cool to see the other detachments kind of come out of the woodwork occasionally. This one and the Data Psalm Conclave, I think, is the 2 that also see some play, which are not too bad out of Adeptus Mechanicus. But congratulations on being the 1 AdMech in the thing. Ooh, trying to mark off my Adeptus Mechanicus here. Nice. All right, what should we jump into next? The big ones we have, Grey Knights, Militarum, and Sisters had a bunch of results. And Demons, honestly. And then we had a smattering of results from Aeldari, Votann, Imperial Knights, and Chaos Knights that we haven't talked about yet. I think we can, while we're talking about it, we can dive into GSC. We had 1 Genestealer Cult at Hammerhead Games. Colton Cox with GSC. And I think GSC, especially because they have a very similar game plan to a lot of the other armies that are going to be really good this season, I think GSC are going to be very bad, because I think people are just going to try to hard counter them, and they really needed buffs from last season. They were super struggling. And given the fact that but other stuff got buffed, they didn't get anything, and people are going to be teching for them, I think is going to make GSC really tough, but we'll see. Yeah, gonna miss you guys. It's the name of the list. So, I think Shumo is asking to rate the list names. That's probably the big one, because I don't know if these guys are gonna be on the table too much in the new season. This list running a Clamavis, Nexos, Primus, Triple Primus, Triple Reductus Saboteur, 1 with Prowling Adjutant. 2 10s of Acolytes with Demolition Charges. 5 20s of Neophytes, so 100 Neophytes and 2 Achilles Ridge Runners. So just spamming out infinite units over here. There have been, I think some of the lists that we've seen do fairly well have been taking kind of a combined arms, like maybe taking a little bit of a couple vehicles, sometimes even some Brood Brothers, occasionally Aberrants and stuff like that. But this one is very classic, just all the battle line stuff with hybrids with Acolytes and Neophytes just doing massive damage with attached characters, and that's like the whole game plan. There you go. Easy peasy. All right, we want to do Imperial Knights next? Yeah, we can do that. Can get on those bad boys. Could jump into both the Knight factions because we don't have too much to talk about with them. I do think that Knights are probably going to be fairly good in the new season, but it's going to take a little while, I think. So same event that we just talked about Adeptus Mechanicus at. We also saw Imperial Knights 3-0. Andrew Shapline. Making big use of that floating reroll buff. So we're taking a Cerastus Castigator with Macarius Triumphant. The Castigator is the one with the big chain gun, right? He's got the big double-barreled Mega Bolter. Let's grab his data sheet. Yep. Yeah, so we're getting the twin-linked bolt cannon. 18 shots, rank 6, AP 2 damage. You get +1, there's sustained hits and +1 AP on your Warglaive that you bondsman in. So they go to AP 5 on their melted gun with sustain. And we have the floating reroll on hit and wound with the melted gun if we take Layla of the Tyrants. So those Armiger Warglaive melted guns are like super lethal. And they can suppress infantry with -1 to hit. Good stuff. The other benefit that these guys have is they're also pretty good at fighting. They're not the best at fighting, but they're not too bad. Not like Crusaders, which are just all shooting all the time. We then also have the Crusader with Mythic Hero, so he gets 2 bondsmans. So we get the +1 AP bondsman off of the Castigator, 2 +1 to hits off of the Crusader, with the rapid fire battle cannon, and something else. Whatever the basic weapon is on the Crusader, it looks like they haven't upgraded it. It is the thermal cannon is the other weapon. So thermal and battle cannon, I think, is what we're running. It's a little hard to read because it only lists one weapon. Plus a Gallant with Mysterious Guardian. So he gets the uppy downy and also deep strike, and then 4 Armiger Warglaives. So we're getting the floating rerolls on all the Armiger Warglaives is the big benefit there. Nice. Good stuff. There's one more Imperial Knights to talk about. So this is from Adeptus Mechanicus. 300s from Espinosa Crypta. Which is that? Okay. This is a very Knight-focused metagame, by the way. We also saw Chaos Knights win this one, too. At 3-0. Canis Rex leading this guy with a Knight Errant, 2 Helvrins, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Warglaives, plus a Calidus Assassin and a Henchman unit. So yeah, this one is like, we're all in on the on playing like Eldar style Imperial Knights now. Just spam as many of those rerolls as we can. I bet that, I don't know what the math is, but I bet the efficiency of that thermal spear is like, it's like 30% better with that floating reroll. I have to imagine. Because the downside of those things is that they were so dicey. And having what is effectively full rerolls is like so big for them. That's huge. Oh, it's always the Gatling cannon on the Crusader. Oh, my bad then. Oh yeah, it replaces its thermal cannon. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Good call. So we're kind of we're doing a little bit of a Chaos Knights impression here with the new Imperial Knight list. Speaking of which, we can dive into Chaos Knights in the same event. Chaos Knights also 3-0. Hi, Inky. What's up? And I think this is like pretty lame. Wardog Stalker, Brigand, 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 Carnivore, 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 Beast of Nurgle, Nurglings. Okay. I think a lot of lists moved from max Brigands to like, they cut some Brigands to take max Carnivores usually, just because the extra points on the Brigands is a lot. We've been kind of seeing a switch between the different styles of War Dogs that you take in order to maximize your points, but I think ultimately the build largely hasn't really changed. You just lost a little bit of efficiency between the Brigands going up and the Nurglings going up. But the Beasts of Nurgle are pretty cool. They're a nice unit. They're a T9 beast to set on an objective, and if you don't kill them by the end of the phase, they just heal. So they're super tough to kill from indirect fire, and if they just sit on your back objective, your opponent's probably not going to kill them. Unless they're rocking like Manticores or something, which again are not quite as widespread as I think we'd seen them previously. Definitely try to stick a Calidus. Yeah, I think the assassins seem just so impactful for knights. Like it's such an upgrade for knights. What? Kitty, you want to come say hi to the chat? Come here. Oh, yeah. Inky. There's Inky. Inky, say hi. Hello. No, we're gonna be shy. Okay. The assassins seem so useful for knights. I mean, they perform the same function that Nurglings do for Chaos Knights, right? Where you just don't have to be committing War Dogs to the fight or Arbingers to the fight in order to actually get your secondaries done. That's like such a big deal. I like the lists that run like Calidus plus Eversor, that like start the list that way. That feels really good. Oh, Inky's gonna sit on my arm for the rest of the stream. It's gonna fall asleep. What are you doing, kitty cat? You gonna talk into my microphone? Okay. yeah. Why are you talking to those people online, Trevi? Talk to me instead, you snugglebug. Yeah, hi. Hello. She's been so snuggly these last couple of days. I think because I was out all weekend. She's been all snuggly. Any chance Abominant sees play at the new points cost? I don't know. I don't think so. I think the Abominant's like dead on arrival. It's just a knight with no purpose, I think. It was cool when it was the Psychic Knight and it could do psychic stuff, but now it's not that because there's no psychic stuff anymore. So it's like the anti-heavy infantry knight, but that's just like something that knights sort of passively kill anyway. Just having like infinite multi-damage attacks. So I don't like it. I think it just fulfills a niche that doesn't really exist. I think it needs like a rewrite, honestly, and better psychic abilities probably. Bringing knights as Custodes is going to keep your Blaze Callan Caladius Craft tank. Yeah, it's pretty good. All right. Let's move on. I saw some people posting about Votann, so we can talk about Votann next. Just a couple of Votann results. So we're back to the Red Claw full auto. Ed Soltis with leagues. 3-0. Some tight games, it looks like. 84, 76, 87. Those are not blowouts by any stretch of the imagination. Damn. That was hard fought, my dude. Broke-Hair Iron Master with Grim Demeanor. Double Einherjar Champion, double call. Whoa! This is like more characters than you see in most lists, like full stop. Like usually you'd see all of the Votann, like undefeated Votann lists for a whole weekend would have 5 characters like combined. Today we're just rocking 5 in one list. 1 unit of Hearthkin Warriors, 1 Sagittor. Oh, these are old points. Hold up. Just one of these new points. This list is new points. $19.80. Oh, maybe they just underpaid. That's probably what happened. Because that's 15. No. Well, I don't know. Because the Brokir Thunderkin went up, right? Because they were 154.6 previously. Is that right? The Sagittars are definitely wrong. Yeah, the Thunderkin should be 20 points more. So this list is just like a billion points over. Yeah, okay, well, just kidding. No wonder you could fit so many characters in. I'm not crazy about that Orc list, right? 65 points is the new value for trucks, because they used to be 60. Yeah. Alright, well. That's awkward. Scratch that one from the list, I guess. Right. Move on. Lewis L. from Heroes Monthly with 3-0 with Votann. This was much more. This is much bigger wins. 200-point wins from Lewis. Let's fucking go. All right. First of all, we'll check your Sagittars. 115 points. Woo! All right. We have the correct points value for Sagittars. Let's do it. Weird. So 2 Iron Masters, 1 with Glare. Hi, Kitty. Where you going? All going down? Okay. Tired of me talking. A Grim Dominion Einhir Champion. 1 unit of Hearthkin Warriors, 2 Sagittars. Triple Brokir Thunderkin. So despite the points hike, we're still taking 18 of them to come off the table edge, probably. I guess 2 of them come off the table edge, and 1 of them just walks around. A Chthonian Berserk unit for 1 of the Sagittars, and then we get to split the Hearthkin unit for the other one. Hekaton Land Fortress. 10 Hearthguard. Yeah, I guess you have to... I guess you could put the Berserks in the Land Fortress if you play it aggressively. And then, although it has a conversion beamer, so you probably keep it in the back. Yeah, it might just be a gun platform in this list. With the Fortress, and then 2 units of Hernkin, or 3 units of Hernkin Pioneers for support. So I think that what we're probably going to be seeing is a lot more Hekaton Land Fortresses with the Sagittar nerf. It seems like most lists want to be still running like 1 to 2, maybe 3 Sagittars, but the points hike was a lot for them. That really starts to add up if you're taking like the 6 that people usually used to take. But the Land Fortresses not going up means that they're still very efficient, and so I think a lot of lists are going to be slowly moving towards 2 or 3 Land Fortresses across the board. But this list just powered through with the points nerfs. We lost like 60 points on the Thundercan and like 20 points on the Hearthguard, right? So this list is down like over 100 points, and it did just fine. Pretty impressive, honestly. Better than just fine. This list dominated 200-point wins. That's a big deal. They are the short kings. Indeed. Indeed, chat. All right, we're like almost at the end of the list here. We are getting close to it. We got Grey Knights, Militarum, Adeptus Sororitas, and Daemons, and Aeldari left. And then we are done. I will talk about Aeldari, because there's only a couple of them. A lot of people dumped Aeldari, but I don't know if that was entirely wise. Aeldari are pretty good, to be perfectly honest. So this one, this is from Valkyrie Wargaming, by the way. Brenton Weiss, 3-0 with Aeldari. And what we're going to be seeing, I think, a lot is a move away from the big brick play that we saw previously, where people were just taking like mostly big unit of Wraithguard, and then dumping all their stratagems into like Fire and Fading and Phantasming that unit. And now, because the Phantasm is less efficient and Wraithguard are more expensive, what they're doing is focusing more on the like multiple units list. So we've got a Weeping Stone Wayleaper. So the Weeping Stone, if I remember correctly, gaining you some nice fate dice every time you kill someone. Yeah, when you destroy an enemy unit, add a d6 to your fate dice pool. So the fact that we start with only 6 fate dice is supplemented a little bit by the Wayleaper, and also by Eldrad, who adds 3 more, so you're starting with 9 instead. We then have Fugan, Karandros, and Illic. A lot of play in Karandros now, I think, too. Plus we're running... excuse me. A Falcon? For a Fire Dragon unit to fire support them. Double Hornets, Rangers for Illic, so he gives them lone operative and wound rerolls. 2 Shadow Spectre units, Striking Scorpions, a D-Cannon support weapon platform, double Swooping Hawks, double Warwalkers, double Warp Spiders. Holy shit. This list is utility central. My god. So we have the 2 24-inch movers, 2 uppy downies on these guys, 3 forward operators between the Warwalkers and... 4, excuse me. The Rangers, the Warwalkers, the Striking Scorpions, and maybe even Candyman if we don't put Karandros into the Striking Scorpion unit, which I don't think you have to. All forward operating plus Shadow Spectres as a shoot and scoot. So this list is just scoring infinite points and kind of like killing you via 1,000 cuts. Between all of the billion aspect warriors and then the 4 light vehicles plus a falcon, so 5 vehicle profiles too. The one thing I almost expected to see was a guardian unit for Eldrad, just stack the fate dice generation, but that's probably going too far. The Hornet isn't something that I've seen in a hot minute. Do I have his data sheet? They were very popular at the beginning of the edition, and not so much anymore, but it seems like the light vehicles are coming back. These guys and Warwalkers were extremely popular. So for 100 points, you get 2 pulse lasers that you can replace with bright lances. The pulse lasers are 2 shots for D3 damage, or you can replace them with the 1 shot for D6 plus 2. Looks like we're taking Bright Lances, which is much more efficient with the Battle Host reroll. And then they have their move 14, OC2, and they have a bombing effect, so they can move over people and deal mortals. So they're very good at just jumping on objectives. Same with the Warwalkers too. And their damage output's the same. They're basically just like a side grade from a Warwalker. They don't forward operate, and they're not as hard to kill, but they're much faster. And they do mortal wounds. So yeah, I think Eldar are just fine, chat. I think we're just going to move to taking the Aspect Warrior light vehicle list, and we're gonna see how it goes from there. Jeremy King, also undefeated with Eldar at Nurgle's Spread the Love. Yeah, I think that the problem with Eldar now is that there were a lot of people who were like, oh, I'm probably just gonna, they're just rocking Eldar because it's easy mode. And I think it's gonna take it's gonna be a lot harder to win with the MSU builds. I think it's much easier to lose the game very quickly, but I think it's fine, right? I think they're still for sure an A tier faction, if not post nerf at the same level that they were, because all of their other predators also got nerfed, right? So they just basically stay at the same spot, which is kind of nuts when you think about it. So this list, Jeremy King over here running Phoenix Gem Wayleaper, an Avatar of Cain, Fate's Messenger, Death Jester. I think that's just where with Fate's Messenger goes. You can only use Fate's Messenger on the Death Jester himself, not the unit he's attached to. Or on the character itself, I should say. So you're just always going to play it on a Death Jester every time. It's just as good as it was. And it already was very good. I know. Death Jester's so strong, Inky. Plus a Farseer and Candyman. A Guardian Defender unit. Yeah, so we're starting to see some of the support for Eldar, for Fate Dice get implemented as well. Triple Fire Prisms. Dude, is this a list from, Index Hammer? When everyone was in on Fire Prisms? If you can't Phantasm, you might as well just Fire and Fade your Fire Prism and shoot all the other Fire Prisms through it. And just chain your Prism Cannons infinitely. Striking Scorpions, double Swooping Hawks, a Warlock Conclave, double Warp Spiders. Warlock Conclave is an interesting pick. Because we've seen him occasionally, but not super often. A little bodyguard for the Farseer to jump into. Hi, Inky. This cat is so loud. She just has so much to say, you know? Looking for the Warlock Conclave. Hi, kitty. There they are. Yeah, so they're just a little bodyguard for a Farseer. Kind of nice. Although I guess you don't have to take them with the Farseer, you can just take them as a utility unit. They're probably one of the cheaper units in the Codex, right? Which is, I think, what the draw would be. They're kind of a side grade from Rangers, I guess. They have like a 4+ invulnerable save, but you're not an infiltrator. You don't have the reactive move, but you do have a cool destructor. They have torrent weapons, which is nice. Interesting. So looking at Drukhari, just like Ynnari, still better? I mean, maybe. I think Drukhari's like probably much more interesting. Better at fighting for sure, but definitely being shot is a big deal. So that's Eldar. That's all the Eldar. The first week that we've had not Eldar, or think of the first week on like the entire edition that we don't have Eldar just on every single event like a billion times, which has been nice. We're slowly like growing out of the dominance of Eldar. All right. I think we'll hit Sisters next because they do feel like kind of a monolith at this point. A monolist, I should say. So this is from West Coast RTT, Max Person with Adepta Sororitas. And this is like kind of, I think, where the army has ended up. This list is very similar to the list in the that we saw go 4-1 at the GT I talked about in my video yesterday. Running a very limited selection of characters. Morven Ball, Triumph of St. Catherine, a Paragon Warsuit unit for Morven to join into. This cat. And then triple Arcoflagellants, double Repentia. Interestingly, we're seeing the Repentia see more play, I think, just because they're efficient now. They're like a really good trading unit, as they've always kind of been classically. What? You want to come up? No, you want me to snuggle. I want snuggles, she says, but no snuggles today. But then we get a ton of utility units. So like Seraphim, Zephyrim at 60 are super efficient now. They were just worse than Seraphim previously, but now that they're 10 points cheaper, you can kind of utilize them in the situations where you don't need the shoot and scoot. And they're just more efficient and occasionally fight people in melee, which is nice. And then 2 units of Crusaders as well, which worst case scenario just turn into Miracle Dice, which is solid. Did my camera just like freak out? That's weird. What are you doing, camera? I don't know. Now I'm at in a weird place. Okay. So yeah. So I think this is the kind of, at least Morven, the Paragons, and then these like 5 melee units is kind of the plus like backed up by armor. And then 1 million jump packers and Crusaders is kind of like the through line. There's definitely, because Sisters have so many units, there is a lot of kind of flex space to take other stuff, which we have seen occasionally. So moving on to the other sister list we have to talk about. Alex Smith from Gamers Haven. 3-0 with Adepta Sororitas. Charos Brucchiero, thank you for the sponsorship, by the way. Welcome to the membership. This one is a little bit more interesting. We are running Junith Iruita in this list, plus a Blade of St. Eleanor Palatine. Morven Vol in her Paragon Warsuit unit, plus Celestine. 10 model sister squad. So this one is, yeah, not running the Wombo combo, the Dialogus combo, but we do have a Palatine for that unit to jump into. A Rhino, double Castigator, a Sacrosanct unit, which is interesting. Been a hot minute since we've seen Sacrosants. But then the Warsuits for Morven Vol, an Exorcist to add a little bit of shooting, and then Penitent Engines. They're kind of a utility unit with extra steps. Just a 60 point pretty solid dude who can screen and then turn into Miracle Eyes if you need him to. And then one Repentia, double Seraphim, big Zephyrim squad, I think, for Celestine to jump into to regenerate them, and a Calidus Assassin. So this one's a little bit more aggressive. Taking a lot more melee stuff. The Sacrosant's is really surprising, to be honest. And that might actually be where the Palatine ends up, because we are using the blade to try to do a bunch of damage. So they're just kind of a melee counterpunch, potentially. To back up the tank shooting and Morven Ball shooting. But otherwise, more of the same. The Big 10 model Zephyrim squad with Celestine's cool too, though. I think the reduced points value for that unit definitely makes them a lot more of an interesting pick, because 120 points for like 10 pretty reasonable jump pack infantry that then just like deliver a huge like beat stick character. It's kind of a beat stick character. She's a solid beat stick. It's pretty nice, especially with like a potential like rapid ingress that can get you into an awkward position for your opponent with a move and then a long charge. It all seems pretty good. And I think that gets us to just Grey Knights and Demons. Oh, and Astra Militarum. We should do Astra Militarum, otherwise everyone's going to freak out at me. Did have several Astra Militarum lists. We did talk about Tyranids already. Tyranids did not have a good weekend this week, chat. They're going to struggle in this season, I think. Oh boy. Is it going to be it's going to be a little tough for them, in my opinion. We'll see if they can survive, but it's looking kind of awkward. So we're over here, Counterspell Culling. Chris Johnson went 3-0 with Astra Militarum. Taking Gaunt's Ghosts, Solar Leontis, a platoon command squad, and a tank commander. I think this is the relatively standard stuff. We've kind of talked about, this is another faction with maybe kind of a mono list that we've talked about in the past. Kadich Jungle Fighters, Infantry, Chimeras for the Jungle Fighters to jump into, and a Basilisks. Now, I think the big change that we're seeing kind of manifest is that the Earthshaker, or the Manticores, excuse me, are turning into Earthshaker delivery system. So whether that's Basilisk or Carriage Batteries, the new 180 points price point on Manticores might just be a little too high for them. And then we're backing that up with a Billion and Lehman Russ. So 3 Scout Sentinels for the rerolls, 2 Demolishers, an Exterminator to bump the AP, and then a Hellhound. So really just like leaving the whole Manticore combo at home. We don't see Ursula Creed. We don't see the Mortar Squad. We're just taking kind of the bare bones and then a couple of artillery pieces to follow up a bunch of Lehman Russ. A couple other results from Militarum as well. Gigabytes was first placed by Militarum. Patrick Cunningham. So far, kind of the same deal. No tank commander in this one. Gaunt's Ghost, Lord Solar Leontis, and a platoon command squad for the Master Box. Double Jungle Fighters infantry. The infantry is for the platoon and Lord Solar to join into, and then you get the bunch of Jungle Fighters to push the midboard. 2 Basilisks. So this one drops the tank commander for Bulgrin and the Leman Russ for Rogaldorns. Yeah, so we've entirely... the core of the list is functionally identical, but we've just traded the big tanks for Rogaldorns instead of the 4 Leman Russ. We get 3 Rogaldorns instead. Which is like kind of the same. We do still have 2 orders we can give them with Lord Solar. And then we're a little bit tougher on the ground with the Bulgrin squad too, which is kind of the secret sauce I think that that Imperial Guard needed to succeed. Yeah, it is unfortunate that the Manticore points value. I don't know. I don't understand. We did also have an 201 with Imperial Guard. I don't know. I don't know why we're like in this just like repeatedly nerf indirect fire. It feels like everyone is complaining about the so this list took a Manticore. We're at 1 Manticore. So we do have like the Ursula Creed wombo combo for this list. So we can get the +1 AP from overlapping fields of fire, and then the single Manti. A Demolisher, a Rogaldorn, 3 Scout Sentinels, and a Callous Assassin. Yeah, so this one has more backline artillery and less frontline, but otherwise is largely the same. 2 Chimeras. It is 4 infantry squads. Double Cadians, double base infantry, no Catechins. For the Chimeras, and then, yeah, everything else is largely the same. But it feels like everyone was complaining about artillery because they were like, oh, Night Spitters are killing us. And GW was like, you don't like artillery. I see. I'll nerf all the artillery. And you're like, no. I wasn't worried about whirlwinds. I was worried about Night Spinners. Specifically, the one that makes me stop moving and is a twin-linked devastating weapon. And then they were like, yes, nerf exorcists, I see. And you're like, what? No, that wasn't what I said at all. What are you talking about? It's, yeah, I don't know. I didn't understand it whatsoever. But yeah, it seems like Guard is mostly moved to... We'll just replace Manticores with Basilisks and then sort of like salt with armor to taste, I guess. Sitting in the back is mostly what we're at, which... That's fair. Seems pretty solid. What we do have a little bit more interesting builds in our Grey Knights. Do Guard need a points decrease? I don't think they need a points decrease. I just think they need more like interesting units. Like Guard aren't bad, they're just boring. is their problem right now. Like basically requiring that they take like one singular list and being like that's the only list that's good is like it's not very good game design. But to be fair, it's not like they're not doing that to a bunch of other factions, so you're like in the same boat that like Tyranids are in, that Adeptus Mechanicus are in. And it's unfortunate because Astra Militarum have like this huge deep bench of units they can take. But none of them see play. I do wish that they would give a like a towering equivalent to super heavies. I sort of assumed that they had that already, but they don't. It's not. It's linked to the towering keyword, not the Titanic keyword. So they're Titanic, but they don't have any of the benefits that Titanic units normally have, which would certainly make their like Shadow Sword builds a lot more interesting. But the fact that there are situations where you can like lock them in terrain or out of terrain and make it so that they can't shoot anything is like super crappy, especially since they already can't Overwatch, which is like sort of an unnecessary debuff on a unit that mostly can't see anything regardless. Codex with new useful rules. Yeah, having a detachment ability that basically only benefits your artillery too is like super crappy. Also, there needs to be ways for them to count as having remained stationary, in order for Born Soldiers to be like an interesting ability. But they don't have those, so like, okay, I guess it's just strictly an artillery buff. Like, sure, whatever you say, my dude. Defilers need a drop? I don't know, man. I kind of enjoy existing in a universe where Defilers don't see play. It's already bad enough that Soul Grinders are fringe playable. Those models suck. Like, not in terms of their design. They're hit or miss. Some people have feelings about them. But they're too big, and they're annoying to move, and you have to think about it, and you have to make special rulings for them. It's stupid and bad. And I don't know. They should get squatted. I think all those like weird, stupid walkers that have enormous bases because they're so wide should have like a rule where they just like move over terrain. Like, not even the 4-inch scuttling rule, because that's like functionally worthless. But like they just move over ruins or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, we're talking about some Grey Knights now. We're moving on to Ruben Zhao, who at Hammerhead Games 3-0 with Grey Knights. Got double Brotherhood Librarians, Tech Marine plus a Nemesis Dread Knight. The Tech Marines are already good. I wonder if we're also sort of like seeing them, because we do see this huge buff to Nemesis Dread Knight shooting too. So having Tech Marines to buff them is like a big deal. Kaldor Drago, because he's a Chad with his new mechanics. 3 Terminator squads, a Strike squad, an Interceptor squad, a second Dread Knight. So we have a Grandmaster and a Nemesis, a standard Nemesis, plus 2 Purgation squads. One has actual Psy Cannons on it, not Incinerators. That's interesting. I think like being able to teleport assault around Psy Cannons probably gets you to positions where you actually do ignore cover sometimes with them, rather than just, hoping that your opponent forgets they get cover or whatever and like saving on 3s. And I think that's actually pretty relevant. But being able to deliver kind of a critical mass of Psy Cannons. We don't have any on the Terminators, and we don't have Paladins, because the Paladins can sometimes rock like a 5 or a 6 Psy Cannon squad if they have an attached brother captain. And all that together alongside 2 Nemesis Dread Knights is actually legitimate shooting that can actually do a lot of damage. But this one's a little bit more MSU, which I think is the right call anyway. I think that it's probably good that the Brotherhood Librarians got a little bit of a hike, because I think that the Brotherhood Librarian plus the Terminator squad combo is super duper strong now, because they can now like Mists of Deimos or teleport assault into reserve and then heal their guys. So if you like Vortex of Doom, fail it and lose a dude, it's highly unlikely that he stays dead. Whereas previously you would lose a guy and then he would just like, you would constantly be jumping that unit to get them around the table, and that guy would just remain dead for the rest of the game. Now they passively regenerate units, and these Brotherhood Terminator squads are so dumb. It's so hard to deal with. Oh my god. Oh man. I think they're going to be good, chat. I'm calling it now. It's the time of the Grey Knight. I think Nemesis Dread Knights are good now, not the Grandmaster. I don't know. I think that the point of the Grandmaster is that you ingress him into super relevant positions, so you're not necessarily reliant on the advance and charge. Because I think the problem with Dread Knights still is that they're kind of stodgy. Like, we just talked about Defilers being hard to move, and Dread Knights have like a similarly insane base size. And so I think that they're not quite as like stupid to move around. They just have the oval base. But it is still easy to prevent them from getting to places, and I think they're still kind of awkward to move around. And I think that that just being like less reliant on standing on the table is helpful for them. And then the Nemesis Dread Knight, the Grandmaster Dread Knight does so much damage once he gets there, especially because his like reroll goes a little bit farther, being usually 2s or 3s to reroll rather than 4-ups, which is much nicer. And then he also gets wounds and damage too, which is huge, which I think is great. So I think Grey Knights will get worse because people tech against Hypercrypt Legion. I think so, but I also think Grey Knights have a different enough like threat profile that it doesn't work quite as well, because they don't necessarily have the same like level of they don't get as like cucked by Omni Scramblers as Hypercrypt does, because they have a lot of ways to get around it, right? Like if your opponent's like, I got Phobos Librarians or whatever, you just nuke them with your own Librarians and you're like, all right, so that was cool. And then you also have like Mists of Deimos plus like Rapid Ingress. I don't know. I think it's like gonna be okay. Although it could be that the Hypercrypt like crossfire ends up hurting Grey Knights, but I think that Grey Knights are obnoxious enough that they will have answers. Yeah, flying on vehicles doesn't really do anything though, right? Like flying is like not really a real keyword, to be fair. All right, so we're on Tri-City Takedown. This time we're running a Redeemer. That's cool. So Brotherhood Librarian, Castellan Crow, Galdor Drago. Wow, this one's all vehicles. Oh my god. Triple Nemesis Dread Knight Redeemer. Let's go. Plus a Paladin squad, 2 Paladin squads, and a Purifier squad. So I think a lot of times we have a Paladin squad for Drago. We have a Purifier squad, which is probably in the Redeemer, if I had to guess. And then we have a Paladin squad for the Librarian. I don't know if I love a Paladin squad and Librarian rather than just regular Terminators, but that's what we took. Plus Inquisitor Kodiaz and a Calidus Assassin. So Kodiaz offers you a little bit of CP regen in a lot of matchups, because if your opponent gains CP, he also mirrors it. 3 Nemesis Dread Knights, though. That's a lot. That's a lot of beef. And they do move pretty fast. Yeah, the Brotherhood Terminator squad's like invincible for sure. The only times they die is if your opponent is like wildly overcommits or you fucked up. If you just don't fuck up, they probably won't die. That's the secret sauce. That's free coaching right there. I didn't even ask for you to join my Patreon, and you get the free coaching. If not, don't mess up your positioning, and then you'll win more games at 40k. All right, last but certainly not least for Grey Knights, we have Jonathan Holmes, 3-0 at Leotis Games. This one, taking Voldus. Do you mind? No. Come here. Come visit. There you go. Meow. 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 Yeah. So double Librarians. And then Voldus. A Liber Demonica Nemesis Dread Knight. The Liber Demonica is their weapon upgrade, right? I've literally never seen it on the table. It gives them like bonuses when they are attacking demons, if I remember correctly, and their enhanced bonus. Now, yeah, you get +1 to wound if you make attacks, and +1 damage if you are attacking a demon unit, which might actually, like, unironically, may actually be relevant in the meta, because I do think demons are actually going to be okay, and played relatively frequently. And Chaos, it seems like, is still seeing a lot of play. So you're also potentially getting +1 damage there, too. But +1 to wound on the Great Hammer, you're winning like the entire game on twos. That thing's straight 14, right? That's It's we're there to blow up yeah, strength 14. We're here to blow up freaking monoliths, I guess. Wounding a thing on twos. Let's go. All right, I'll buy it. That seems not too bad. Oh yeah, we're high on the Terminator squads here today. 1, 2, 3, 4 Brotherhood Terminator squads, 2 Strike squads, another Nemesis Dread Knight. Yeah, so we have 2, a Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knight, regular Nemesis Dread Knight, 4 Terminators, 2 Strikes. That's it. We're done. Go home. This list is sweet. I like it. Straightforward, to the point, done. Just drop a bunch of idiots on the table and say go. Yeah, that's solid. I think I own this list. I guess I don't have Valdez. That would be the downside. But I have all these Brotherhood Terminators for sure. That seems pretty good. Yeah. I think with the change to the Narcessium, like I can't overstate how good I think Brotherhood Terminators are. I think that they are absolutely ludicrous. Because the downside was always that you would have to remain on the table to regenerate guys. Now you don't have to. It's like, oh my god. That's so good. Definitely take out Khorne, Lord of Skulls. Oh yeah. Yeah, they have demons. All the demon engines do, so like them and Forge Fiends and Mauler Fiends and all that stuff. Randomly, like the Incarn and Avatars of Cain do, if I remember correctly. At least they have in the past. I believe they still do, because Draco used to murk them, which is funny. Yeah, he's got the demon keyword. And yep, Avatar's got the demon keyword. So all your anti-demon stuff works against him too. Pretty good stuff. $85 points on enhancements. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how it goes, right? Like, First to the Fray, I think, is questionable. Like, you could take or leave it. Sigil of Exigence is just an auto-include. So, like, you just windmill slam that thing in every single list, for sure. And then the other stuff is, like, what else are we going to take, right? Like, our smallest units, unless you're taking Servitors, are, like, 125 points. So, you're just like, guess I'll take more upgrades. All right. Speaking of demons, we can thematically wrap things up by talking about demons as the last faction. I believe that I have every single faction marked off on my sheet here. I do indeed. So we are off to demons. We got 3 demon X&Os, or undefeated results, this week, at least in the events that I talked about. There are a lot more events that I like, smaller events that I kind of skipped over, but so they're obviously, I mean, there's a million RTTs every week, so we're really like diving in here. But I usually looked at events that were 20 players plus, or at least 15 players plus or so. So it's not every single event for the course of the week, but it's pretty close. So we got this is the One Up Video Games RTT, TJ Hubbard, 3-0 with Chaos Demons. 96, 87, 100 points. Lots of points for these friendly folks. Running Be'lakor, an Argath Bloodthirster. Dude, I'm so excited that Argath the King of Blades is back, dude. Argath has been my best friend for many a season, and I'm glad that he is of a reasonable points value now instead of getting hiked for no reason. An Everstave, Lord of Change. The downside is I think the Lords of Change didn't get touched, which is probably fine because they're still the cheapest, but of the greater demons. But it still feels kind of bad compared to the other ones. Although having a gun is important because your opponent actually has to respect you. And I think that's the important part of the Lord of Change, is that He's outside of Soul Grinders, he's the only actually like legitimate ranged attack the demons are bringing. Like maybe you'll play Kairos Fate Weaver, but he's been kind of statted out, I think. And then we've got Shalaxi Hellbane for being able to reroll stuff. 450 for her though. Oh my god. I don't know, chat. I don't know if I can bring myself to pay 450 points for a character. That's so many points. That's so many points. You could take almost two Keepers of Secrets. 2 Keepers of Secrets is 580. So you're 130 more points, and you get literally double Shalaxi Hellbanes. A Changeling, some Nurglings, a bunch of Pink Horrors. They're super tough. And a bunch of Flamers. So interesting. The Flamers are seeing a lot of play now. It just says 3-man units. I guess because they are relatively fast and relatively small. One unit I almost wonder about, and I was looking through the Demon's Index. So here's the Flamer unit. They can fall back and shoot, which is nice. Their flames are fine, I guess. Like, they can go to Strength 5, but they're next to the Lord of Change, so there's a little bit of synergy there. But they're not anything to write home about, to be honest. They think the benefit is that they're small and they're just really good utility units. I almost wonder if we see Screamers at some point. Screamers definitely don't really do that much damage. They have a drive-by attack. And their melee profile is good, except their weapon skill sucks, so they actually probably don't hit you at all. But the benefit is that they're move 14. And you can just start them on the table and just zip them up and complete secondaries really early. And I almost wonder if Screamers are like a pretty solid include. But the Flamers definitely give you a gun you can use, and they're good at just like clearing out enemy objective holders. So that's probably like a solid pick. I guess they're tough to kill too, right? 3 wounds each, a T4 with a 4+ invuln. For 75 points, it is a lot of beef. Which is, to be fair, the same. It's the same as the Screamers. But the Screamers are a bigger volume, I guess. So honestly, chat, like the big boy lists are the new lists. Like they were the lists. This style was what you played at the beginning of the edition, but it got nerfed so heavily. Demons like dropped to being one of the worst factions in the game after the first data slate because this list got nerfed so heavily. The Khorne Blood Crushers list is unironically meta up until this data slate because that was basically the only list with a positive win rate for Chaos Demons. There was that, and there was a list with like thousands and thousands of Pink Horrors. There was a list that was like 60 Pink Horrors that did fairly well, but that's like more of a skew. I think it just needs good matchups. But like the fact that we can now go back to taking like these big stompy boys is like new and exciting for Demons. They like literally couldn't do that before. They were priced out. Grognard's February, Kevin Leonard, another convincing W from the Demons. This is the Khorne list everyone's hoping for. Look at all that Khorne stuff. You know what, chat? I got a fucking video about this list. You can go watch that video. I played this whole thing. I played Be'lakor, though, instead of the Bloodthirster. So that I didn't get shot on turn 1, which I think was good. But the Bloodthirster's good, too. Also, this Joker's only playing 1 Rendmaster. You can't just stick at 1 Rendmaster. You gotta take all the Rendmasters. Otherwise, how will we get +3 strength, AP, and damage on our bladed horn attacks? Get these skull cannons out of here. We don't need that garbage. More Rendmasters. Anyway, go watch my video about this list. All right, we're back to the big stompy boys. David Hall, this is from Ministora Monthly. David Hall, 3-0. 88, 82, 73. So some close games for this list. Running the Endless Gift, Great Unclean One. So this is honestly, an inclusion that I think I'm really intrigued by. Because this dude is 260 points. Let's look at his data sheet real quick. He's 260 points, and not only is he an absolute Chad. That is a Chad chin right there. Look at that. He's 20 wounds with, as long as he stands next to Bellicor, which he probably wants to be because it makes him hard to shoot. He has a 4+ feel no pain. So he's the equivalent. He's basically like 80 wounds or 40 wounds to get through. Not counting any heals that he might get. He also, at the end of your movement phase, can reduce the toughness of an enemy unit within 12 inches. So as he's moving up the table, if your opponent has stuff in the middle, he makes it easier for you to kill, which then can wombo combo off guns. So if you have flamers, if you had the lore to change, if you have that other stuff, the Great Unclean One just makes it generically easier to deal with. And he can also kind of benefit himself in the fight phase too, if he gets stuck in. And I don't think, like, by any stretch of the imagination that this guy is like invincible. He dies all the time, but the problem is that for 260 points, he takes way more than 260 points to kill, especially since, being Chaos Demons with Bellicor, your opponent basically has to take a turn off shooting him, because it is entirely up to the demon player whether their opponent gets to shoot them on the first turn. So, like, you have 4 rounds to kill this dude before he just, like, steals the middle objective from you and makes the primary untenable. And, you probably won't. Like, you kill him, but not until, like, the game's over. Also, he has a ballistic skill on his Putrid Vomit. I love that. I think they've edited that. I think this data sheet is old. But, I like the idea, just in case he has a ballistic skill on his weapon that automatically hits. But yeah, he's swinging. He's only strength 8 in melee. He has 6 attacks with lethal hits, though. You could pay SCP for extra AP if you wanted to, and then he can reduce your toughness. So he's actually, like, kind of straight 9. And then he also attacks a billion times. He shoots D6 plus 3, like, super heavy flamer shots, and then D6 plus 1, 2 damage flail attacks. So he's also good at, like, clearing medium infantry. I think this dude, like, rules. I think he was 290 in the previous update, and he was probably worth it. And now he's 260, and I think he's definitely good. You can run multiple Great Unclean Ones, but you can only take the enhancement once. I think there's a universe where you take the Guo and you take Rodagus. We talked about Rodagus in the Death Guard section, like, at the beginning of the video, a million years ago. This has been a long stream. I knew it was going to be a long stream. I was prepared for the long haul. And I'm excited to talk about it. I spent so long collating all these lists, chat. I'm just excited to talk about all this new stuff. All this new technology people are coming up with. It's so sick. It's like Christmas. I think there's a universe where you take these two together. The problem is that they're super fat. They're just big boys. They're just big, huge dudes. And they have trouble moving around each other. You can, like, uppy downy them and jump them around, and that definitely helps, but it's not perfect. And I think that's the real problem. But Rodagus gives his Legiones Demonica Nurgle units +1 damage in the fight phase. So he can, like, dramatically improve the Guo and himself against, like, a lot of infantry. Which is, I think, why you would take the two together. So, like, the Great Unclean One can make your 2 big boys easier to wound against them, and then Rodagus makes you do more damage against them. And then, like, with their powers combined, they beat you to death. The problem is that, I don't know, I think that the base strength 8 definitely hurts them, but I think they have enough benefits otherwise. And then also, the Great Unclean One gives Rodagus a feel no pain, too, which he doesn't have built in for whatever reason. Drago can do it. Sure, yeah. The dedicated demon hunter can do it, definitely. Not by himself, though. He needs help. Drago himself will not kill a Great Unclean One. It's mathematically impossible. Because he only deals 18 damage, right? He's like 6 attacks at 3 apiece. I guess if he shoots him, he could do it. But you have to get it through a 4+ feel no pain with all those attacks. That's tough. That's the tough part. We have a Keeper of Secrets, a Soul Stealer. It's like the less exciting relic. It gives you wounds back when you kill people. And a Lord of Change with the gun. We're in on the on the infantry. The pink horrors did not. They were the one infantry unit that didn't get a discount because they were already hard to kill and they saw some play. Plague bearers and I think. Oh, excuse me. I think plague bearers are the other interesting one because they're high OC, and they have OBSEC. And a lot of times, all you really want to do is just jump models onto an objective and steal it. And that's what the plague bearers are kind of there to do. They'll steal it and then they'll lock it. And while it's not quite as good as it was previously, because you could lock the objective until the end of the turn, like on your opponent's turn, which was kind of annoying, they are still pretty efficient for like a big OC2 unit. The pink horrors get to jump in and shoot, but they do cost like 25% more. And then some two soul grinders to shoot laser beams at people. Yeah, so the soul grinders have like a strength 12 gun, right? With a Zinch Scream. Warp Gaze. Yeah, so it's a strength 12 gun. And because we have the Great Unclean one, we can reduce their toughness. So if they have a toughness 12 vehicle, we can get the Soul Grinders to wound on 3s, and we can get the Lord of Change to wound on 3s. So if you debuff a strength 12 vehicle, it just vaporizes to these guys, I'm pretty sure. Because the Lord of Change is strength 10 base, because he gives himself +1 strength. And then ever stave, as long as he stands next to Bellicor, is +2 strength. So he goes to strength 12. So even like monoliths, T13 monoliths kind of die to this. I guess they don't. It's not that efficient. But it's pretty good. It will leave a mark for sure. The downside is the low AP. That's kind of Demon's issue. They have low AP and they're very low reliability. All their attacks are very random. But just roll good. That's the answer. And I think with a lot of the stuff being cheaper than it was, like you don't need to have as good dice when you just have 20% more stuff on the table, which is really real benefit. All Greater Demons is the only way you'd ever play Demons? Dude, I'm with you, bro. Greater Demons are sick. Greater Demons are so cool. I'm only ever invested in Demons when it's all big, stompy idiots. I think I just need to, like, just sort of abandon all pretenses and accept the fact that I'm, like, a big idiot Timmy at heart, and all I want to do is just, like, play with big idiots. Because that was, like, literally why I played Tyranids. I like the big monsters, and I liked Hive Tyrants. And then I was like, oh, I'll move to Thousand Suns and play nothing but Magnus the Rad. And then I'll move to Demons and play nothing but, like, Bellicor and Lords of Change. And that's all I want to do now is play Greater Demons. So I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time on Demons, I think, and see if we can make them go in the new edition, because I think they're cool. Demons need strat changes. I mean, maybe. I think generally their stratagems are pretty good, right? Like, I would say Demons probably have one of the best selections of stratagems out of their index in the game, right? They have a sticky objective, which is like pure value. They have advance and charge, which is like pure value. They have an uppy down, or they have a 3-inch deep strike and an uppy downy, which are both pure value. Their offensive and defensive strats are meh. They're like distinctly mid. Like +1 AP is like, it's like okay, but it's only good in like very limited circumstances. And the reroll ones is the same. It's like not great, but sometimes you know your opponent's gonna shoot everything at one dude, and you're just gonna burn the CP anyway. And if you have like Kairos, a lot of times you get it back regardless, because they're like, oh, I gotta kill Kairos, and you're like, all right. Just refresh my CP real quick here. It's definitely not good. Like, you'd rather it be like a lone op strat or something, but you know, I think that the other stuff they have is just fine. They'll probably get, yeah, they'll get almost for sure like 5 or 6 detachments for sure. So the problem with the Tau big idiots is that they only ever do one thing, and that's boring. I like the big idiots that run around and do stuff. Like Be'lakor is like he's my jam, right? Because that dude's like buff the team, jump over here, shoot a unit to death, charge, kill a unit. I wish he'd actually hit his attacks, because he just charges and then he misses a bunch of times and he makes me sad. But that's the kind of dude I like. I like making game actions and like having a bunch of options. The Tau stuff, it's like, I'm a Riptide, I'm a silly Gundam, and I'd shoot, and then that's it. And you're like, all right, whatever. I think if I played Tau, I was thinking about it, and if we were going back to meme lists, I would play Tau Commanders, I think, because I think that's like sweet. That's just like kind of a cool archetype. But I'd probably hold off on Tau until the new codex comes out, because it's only a couple weeks away, probably. So I have a couple lists. I was like building some lists for. We had some discussions in the Discord, and I was kind of getting some bugs up my butt about doing lists and doing meme lists. I think that I might try Militarum for a bit. There's a list that's like mechanized infantry I was working on that I think is like super cool. Whether it's good, it's probably not, but I think we'll try to make it work. I think what I might try for a while, so that I can continue like the meme list series. It's hard to justify putting all the time into it on Twitch if I don't get to make content about it on YouTube, which is tough. Which is why I haven't been streaming recently. So like I think the writing was on the wall. People didn't like the meme lists on YouTube. What I might do is, instead of doing like a whole battle report, is just talking, like basically just cutting it down to the list discussion step. And I'll play around with silly lists and then get them to a playable point and then make a video about them. That's probably what I'm going to try to do over the next couple weeks. So, yeah, we'll play some silly Tyranids, like post data slate Tyranids. I've got some like Militarum cooking. We'll play some Tau when Tau comes out. Might try some AdMech if I can find like a combo that I like, but that I think is what I'm gonna see if I can do, because I think that's the part that people actually enjoy anyway, right? Is the part like of the interesting list combo, whether or not it wins or not, like in a video, is like, who cares? Back in third, Nids are the only army with models bigger than a regular guy. I mean, everybody had like, what do you call it? Like vehicles and stuff, right? And land speeders. Trevor's relationship with Thousand Sons is over. It's true. Thousand Sons are dead to me. That faction makes me so like viscerally angry. It's just like, I don't know. It's nice that 10th edition makes faction hopping easy, because like I can't keep a faction for more than 2 months without getting it nerfed. I don't know what it is. GW keeps looking at what I play and then just debuffing it. Will I be playing it up in person at upcoming events? So usually my play is at RTTs, because if I'm at a GT, I'm almost always streaming it. So I mean, you can check out my calendar for the events that I'll be at in person for streaming. I don't anticipate playing in any GTs in the foreseeable future. Maybe like post Adepticon, but I couldn't tell you. But RTTs occasionally. So I guess a peek behind the curtain. We did a bunch of work leading up to Captain Con this past weekend for Breachstorm. And at Adepticon, we're kind of planning a big expansion, so that's gonna like eat basically all my free time between streaming and making videos. Basically, all my free time is gonna be going into that. So I don't actually know how much I'll play in person, but I'll definitely be playing on the Purple channel for sure. Could have played Eldar 6 months ago. Have them gotten them nerfed? Yeah, maybe I should have. For sure. Did I see the Crute doggies? I did see the new Crute Hound models. I think they're cool. They're OC1 when they're next to a Crute unit. That's crazy. OC1 fucking Crute Hounds is nuts. Yeah, glad you're enjoying the live streams. I appreciate that. It's definitely like I don't know. There's some growing pains for sure. As I keep like adding new features every time, and it kind of has to mesh with my system that I have put together. I'm like a habitual jury rigger, so everything I do is like kind of by the seat of my pants, which is both good and bad. It means that I can add a lot of stuff really quickly, but sometimes it breaks, which is unfortunately happened on Saturday. But Sunday was great. The Sunday streaming this past weekend was amazing. It always feels like that's how it works. It's like the first day of streaming, something always goes wrong horribly, and then usually I just leave I get it all set, and then I just don't touch anything. We just leave it all good, and then it's good for the rest of the week. But yeah, I think my like audio driver failed or something during the something weird happened. It was bizarre during the first round of the event yesterday, and my audio mixer just didn't play any sounds. It was registering sounds. The lights were on, but the computer didn't transmit them to the computer. I don't know what happened. It was bizarre. I had to turn everything off and then turn it back on again. A whole thing. All right, chat. Well, I think that I'm going to go ahead and call it a day there. This has been a marathon of a stream. But I think this is the first weekend post data slate is an exciting time to talk about a billion different pieces of list technology. So I'm happy to do it. Yeah, I'll be live tomorrow. I think I'm going to be live around 4 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time over on the Purple Channel. So tune in for that. It's going to be sweet. And then I'll be live on Thursday and Friday evenings as well, streaming games. So please come hang out with me for that. I also should have a faction tier list for the new data slate up tomorrow as well. So that'll be exciting too. So lots of cool content coming out from me. And yeah, I think we'll call it good there. Thanks everyone for joining me. And I'll flip it back to the music for the outro here. But keep it classy, folks. Have happy wargaming, and have a great rest of your week.